My40 Sports presents Bojangles Friday Night Rivals. Tonight, the Spartanburg Vikings versus the Gaffney Indians.
101 years to the day from their very first meeting on October 7th, 1921. The Gaffney Indians and Spartanburg Vikings are set to renew their rivalry. With that, we welcome you into Friday Night Rivals alongside my broadcast partner, Tom Ben Hoy, Jason Patterson here. 107th meeting between the Vikings and the Indians. Yes, they play more than once a year. A lot of occasions, including last year. This is a rematch of the Upper State Championship game. And, Tom, you've got the reigning state champion Gaffney Indians, 18th all-time last year on one side. You got the reigning region champs because Gaffney wasn't in that region on the other for Spartanburg. Both these teams peaking at the right time.
And they're in the same region. This is a huge game tonight. Gaffney's first region game, and you've got a Spartanburg team that's already got a big win over Burns.
Talked about Gaffney coming back in the region, making this battle all the more important for playoff positioning. But this is a Spartanburg team on the rise under Mark Hodge just a few years in. Won state championships at his previous stop at Chapman. Boy, this one is lined up as a clash of powers, as it always seems to be when they get together.
Well, his third year, Mark Hodge at Spartanburg, and has done a great job getting the program back where they want it to be. And then Dan Jones on the other side, his 13th year. He is a veteran here. He's got a couple of state championships, including last year.
If you're in the Palmetto State, in fact, if you're in the Southeast region, you have to say no more than Gaffney and Spartanburg. These are the kind of nights you live for.
Well, you do. And with a night like tonight, weather-wise, we've got everything perfect here for an outstanding football game.
We are just about ready for kickoff on the National Game of the Week. It's Friday Night Rivals from Cherokee County. Gaffney hosting Spartanburg right after the break. Well, the Spartanburg Vikings have made their entrance as they get set to face off against their rivals. Just a county line between them. As the Gaffney Indians make their way out of the trademark tunnel, we welcome you back to the one-of-a-kind place locals affectionately refer to as the Reservation, and the reigning state champions to Fireworks 2001, played by the Band of Gold, and the entrance through the tunnel, Tom, have made their way onto the field. They welcome in a 1-0 in the region Spartanburg team tonight that is defending a region title from a year ago. So you got one team trying to defend their region. You got a Gaffney team celebrating and trying to build upon an 18th championship all time. And with a football in the air, we are underway between the Indians and the Vikings. Here's a return as Spartanburg's going to have it up over the 20 to the 22-yard line. Again, the 107th meeting between these teams as they get set to do battle. We'll talk a lot about the history between these two. The other thing we're going to talk a lot about tonight, these two quarterbacks. It is not every day that you see two D1 prospects at the quarterback position, both of them in their senior seasons. The experience level of these quarterbacks second to none, as you see Raheem Jeter lead Spartanburg to the charge.
Yeah, he is a big guy at 6'3", 236, a senior. He didn't play in the game last year. Game 1 we did, and it was a 31-12 win by Gaffney at that time. Came back, had an outstanding season.
All-State quarterback a year ago. In fact, you're going to see many believe those two that competing for the Shrine Bowl quarterback position when all is said and done here in the Carolinas on the Palmetto State side. Spartanburg to the ground, first time through here. As you see that Gaffney defense up front, boy, the tone early so key in a contest like this. Tom Van Hoy.
Well, it is. I mean, and the offensive line is going to be one of the keys today. And from a Spartanburg standpoint, they're coming off a 9-4 season a year ago. They were the region champion. They're back in the same region, top region in the state of South Carolina, 5A Region 2.
Happy to have you with us for this battle. Everything happening right between the tackles out of the gate here. Raheem Jeter has quite the surrounding cast for the Spartanburg Vikings as well, Tom. It is an experienced quarterback. There are some youngsters at the playmaking positions that will be critical.
Well, there are. And Reed Carter's gotten the call. The first two, he's an all-region player as a running back. Wide receiver is Andrew Denton, is an all-region player as well. So they've got some big playmakers out of the edge as well.
Perhaps we'll take a look at those on the other side of this third down play. Let's see what the Vikings decide to go with. Early third down for Spartanburg. And Jeter under pressure. Going to roll near side. And he'll hit a man just shy of the 40. That's going to be enough to move the chains. So the first Franklin Financial first down of the night is going to be Spartanburg's as they extend the opening drive with this toss from Raheem Jeter.
Yeah, I tell you, he's big guy, 236. There was pressure. He was able to get away from it and find an open receiver to move the chains.
So first down, set up at the 38. Vikings on the march. First possession of the night. Spartanburg with the football. Spartanburg team playing its second region game. They get a bye week next week. The Gaffney Indians coming off a bye a week ago. And what did their staff say? We'll tell you if it was a good thing or not.
Yes,
when we see the result here after a couple of big wins for Gaffney as they tried to right the ship with somewhat of an unusual start to the season. Here's Jeter looking for room. Has some up across the 40 to the 45. So he's near first down yardage again, as he's able to scramble for a few, and you know he has the arm strength as well as the wheels to be a true definition of a dual threat quarterback for Spartanburg.
Well, Burns last week dropped 8. That allowed him the opportunity to get that kind of yardage you just saw right there. Not really wanting to run it, but if you're going to give it to him, he's got that experience, he'll take it and get a good game.
Second down play, kept on the ground. Here's Carter. Carter up the middle, and he's down to the 30-yard line of the Indians. Carter, an all-region performer a year ago. Tommy, he put Spartanburg on the board in the second quarter of the regular season matchup on our air last season at Viking Stadium. Looks like he's planning on making some noise again tonight.
At 5'8", 161, a senior, but I tell you, he can run tough inside, and you saw the block able to cut off and accelerate for a big game.
Also had a 41-yard touchdown run late in that game that made it 17-12 when it really tightened in the fourth quarter. Jeter to the air this time, and it's going to have a little bit too much underneath it, but the flag comes in as the Spartanburg march continues. And while they sort out the interference penalty, let's go ahead and give you that promised look at the Spartanburg Vikings offensively.
Well, we talked about Drake Carter. He's the running back that's gotten off to a great start. Andrew Danton is at all region as well. The wide receiver Q Moore is a great one as well. And flip it over to the defensive side now. Defensive end Nathan Johnson, Sherman Tate, the nose tackle. Get into the secondary to Caliber Huey, and also Brayshawn Littlejohn is the guy on the outside linebacker who's going to be effective in the ballgame tonight too.
So let's look at those as you just walked through them there, Tom. There they are on the screen for you as the Indians will line up. And, you know, the pressure up front for Gaffney has been one of the elements to turn the tide for this team. You know, we talked about it. This is a Gaffney team. Started off both these teams having played tough schedules, including out-of-state opponents, but now settling into their region matchups, which are where you make your hay toward postseason impact, something these teams know a great deal about. And before the first down play, the Franklin Financial first down play, in the red zone for the first time for Spartanburg, we get another flag down, as it's going to be offsides against Gaffney. So the march will continue with a couple of penalties against the Indians, one on the interference call, here on the offsides call, and Spartanburg is set up just outside the 10-yard line.
They go back to the third down play, able to convert. If you're Gaffney, trying to get them 3 and out to begin things. And Spartanburg, one of the keys is their ability early to maybe play from ahead if they can.
Jeter and company with a first down and 5 from the 11. After the offsides penalty, Raheem Jeter under heavy pressure, and he is taken down. Too many gray jerseys in there. Nate Johnson, whose name we'll call throughout the night, was alongside Sherman Tate, who you mentioned earlier. They made the duo to pick up the sack.
I'll tell you, those two guys inside, Johnson at 6'6", 220, a senior, you'll see him get, and arriving Tate as well, a big sophomore, 265, and be able to bring him down.
Johnson is headed to Appalachian State. He's an App State commit. Maybe you've heard of the Mountaineers. I think they've been making some noise in college football in recent weeks. He's headed up there. This is going to be right in the heart of that Gaffney line. Again, not much there for Spartanburg this time around. And the Vikings on the move here, threatening. What a lift it would be for this Spartanburg squad. Grab an early advantage on the road. Would be a flip of the script from the regular season meeting between these two teams. A year ago, Gaffney jumped out to a 10-0 lead. Spartanburg fought all the way back. We talked about how close it was, much like this series, which we'll get into tonight as well. Here's a third down for Spartanburg, just inside the 20. Jeter had a man, but it's at his feet and incomplete. The intended target for the Spartanburg Vikings was Quay Moore. If that name sounds familiar, and we're going to do this a lot tonight, right? If that name sounds familiar, Quay Moore, upstate area of South Carolina, is the nephew of DJ Moore, who's now a science teacher at Spartan High and still keeps his hands in football a little bit here and there, encouraging those who have come behind him after his mark on this game at all levels. Spartanburg opting to kick the field goal. And here's a 36-yard try. And it is true, off the foot of Will Love. How about his brother? How about the Love brothers kicking for Spartanburg? Now at Virginia Tech after putting together a tremendous career. Moving on to Blacksburg now in ACC competition. Has left the duties to his younger brother, who punches this right through for our Ingles field goal. And by the way, the Ingles field goal challenge now in effect right out of the gate. Every field goal scored in this game will see Ingles donate $100 to the Boys and Girls Club of South Carolina. Good luck from Ingles to all the athletes and teams participating in games this season from Ingles Markets, where your savings say something. Well, Tom, an effective drive for the Vikings. They march down, put 3 on the board before Gaffney touches the football.
I'll tell you, Gaffney did a good job, I think, to kind of bow there late after the big runs by Drake Carter, able to get him deep into territory there. But then the big sack, penetration up front was big, got him into a 3rd and long situation, had good defensive presence and on the backside there. And, settle for the field goal. If you're Spartanburg, you'd like to have the touchdown, but you got the field goal, you got on the board here. I thought the emotion of this crowd, again, they're only, 31 miles apart. That's pretty quick, so we'll have a big crowd here tonight at the stadium.
Yeah, you go the back way, you can get there in about 22 or so.
Oh, yeah,
It doesn't take that long, but you're right. Heart of downtown to heart of downtown. It is not that far between these two schools, or between their success historically in this state, as they have shared so much impact on the Palmetto State. Spartanburg leading at 3-0. After Will Love punches a 36-yard field goal through. And now set to put a foot into it as the Indians look for a return. It's going to be fair caught at the 26-yard line for the Indians, as Drew Medley will call for it. And now you see the other of the amazingly talented quarterbacks in this contest. After coming over from Blue Ridge High up in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains in the westernmost part of the state a year ago, he led this team to the state championship and has really turned into, they say it for Gaffney, a coach on the field. They talk about some of the early adversity he dealt with this year, but having a senior quarterback out there gives him so many different options to open up the playbook.
Yeah, as the season went on, he just got better and better and better and made that transition over to the Gaffney Indians.
Ends up giving this off across the 30 down to the 35-yard line as Quayshawn Tate, the junior back, is given the football. You know, both these teams have outstanding quarterbacks, and they have running back tandems that include a young freshman. You saw Tate there. You'll see Jaden McDowell at some point for the Indians. We know what Carter can do alongside Jeter on the Spartanburg side of the football, and they've got a freshman named Kiki Kelly who's pretty impressive as well. So the backfields look similar for both of these teams, and the weapons are numerous. This is tossed out near side. He's back. There is Edward Jeffries. They call him Sugar Jeffries. He caught 2 touchdown passes in the state championship game a year ago. And he caught 2 touchdown passes in the upper state title game when these two teams met a year ago. And Tom, this is his first action. Here's the surrounding cast around him. We'll tell you why after we look at the starters.
Outstanding player along with Amazon Littlejohn, the wide receiver, and we saw Tate, the ball carrier as well. Up front, the big guy is Shedrick Surratt. They really like him. 6'4", 330, and a sophomore at that left tackle spot.
Loftus tosses this out far side and wrestled out of bounds at around the 47-yard line after the reception for Gaffney is Amazing Littlejohn, the junior. And let's take a look at the defensive alignment for the Spartanburg Vikings trying to slow this Gaffney offense. Who do you highlight on defense for Spartanburg?
Fine players, all levels. Nose tackle is Cam Jackson, all region, 6'3", 305. Outside linebacker Jacob Madison is also all region. You get into the secondary, and it's anchored by the strong safety Jaden Coleman.
Cam Smith was in the starting lineup originally for tonight. We're told he's not playing in this one, kind of some internal team stuff there, and that's a big miss for Spartanburg, because without Cam Smith, who came in as the leading tackler, yes, he's a young sophomore, but growing into his own. He had 70-plus tackles coming into tonight. He will not be a part of this contest, but plenty of talent for Spartanburg as they attempt to fill the gaps and slow this group. And there is once more Jeffries. Tom, in the South Point game, he was stepped on, lost the top third of his index finger on his left hand, had to have surgery. This is his first snap since. These snaps on this first drive of the game for Gaffney tonight, and they go back his direction, but this a little bit too strong and incomplete. But there was no hiding just how happy the Gaffney coaching staff was. We had a chance to talk to both coaches this week. So very gracious with their times as always. And the Gaffney coaching staff clear. Going to be a different team now that Sugar Jeffries is back.
Yeah, 5'9", 185, a senior, and coming off an outstanding season a year ago. And one of those guys that is a playmaker, one of those guys that can make a definite difference in the ball game.
Picked up Gaffney's initial first down a moment ago, and this is going to get out of Loftus's hands for a minute. Boy, Spartanburg closing quickly. How about the sandwich in on one side of it for the Spartanburg Vikings? You had Benny Littlejohn, who's stepping into that role we talked about in the absence of Cam Smith, and he got there quick.
How about the country club hop? How often do you see a oblong ball bounce right up into your hand? So that's kind of a key situation. I think there's a little bit of contact there.
Looked like Tate kind of ran into him, and I'm with you. What's the term they use? A fortuitous hop for the Gaffney Indians that time, it seems. Third down, Gaffney needing to cross the 30-yard line to convert, and Spartanburg showing plenty of pressure up front. Loftus going to tuck this down. He gets inside the 40 to the 38, so he's still going to face a fourth down and plenty here, though Gaffney has moved into Spartanburg territory and inside the 40-yard line. Well, that front for Spartanburg. Duncan Dawkins, Cam Jackson, Joshua Madison. And you take Jacob Madison, kind of throw him in there as well. He can be a playmaker just on the outside of that front group. They are tough.
Yeah, they are, and they're getting better and better. It's a young team in terms of experience. Maybe they might be juniors or seniors. We talked about all the sophomores on Gaffney, but somewhat inexperienced Spartanburg.
Going to be tested on a fourth down right here, as the Gaffney quarterback Loftus has plenty of time to work with initially. He's now going to roll out of the pocket, and he's going to fire long, show his arm strength. Got a wide open man a yard shy of the end zone. And it's Quayshawn Tate to put the Indians on the board. Now there is a flag down at the 38-yard line, and it looks like this one's coming back. You saw the initial signal of holding against Gaffney that appears as if it's going to negate the 6 points for number 6.
Well, Loftus did a nice job of biding some time and looking for players downfield and just kind of got lost in the shuffle. Tate directing traffic, and look at that diagonal throw. And one of the toughest catches you can make is when you're wide open. Now it's going to come back, but just kind of got lost in the wash there on the back end.
He threw back across the body, though, Tom. Tuck that away in the back of your mind for future reference. We talked about the arm strength for Raheem Jeter of Spartanburg, the senior QB of the Vikings. You just saw it for Grayson Loftus as well, two extremely talented quarterbacks. We were trying to rack our brains. Hard to remember two quarterbacks this experienced, this talented, D1 talents going head-to-head in recent memory that come in with these high marks and these high expectations. This truly is shaping up, as you would think, at least on paper, to be a classic night. Inside the 19 after the punt, as the
another flag
Vikings were set to take over, but they're sorting out another flag at around the 43-yard line. So this midseason form, no less, but marred by a handful of key flags in the early going here. We'll sort it out when we return from break on the other side. I didn't see a signal. Did you get what's?
It's got to be roughing the kicker.
Yeah.
Right? That's a big call.
Still fourth down. We come back. Now there was a penalty.
Yeah.
Did you hear me say it? Yeah.
But if it's roughing, it's automatic first down.
Well, now they've got the first down there, but they haven't moved the chains. It's a matter of whether you get the running into or the roughing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Indians punted just a moment ago to Spartanburg. Our officiating crew still sorting this out just a bit. And you see what the state championship head coach of the Gaffney Indians is doing. He's using it as a teachable moment for his team, while Coach Hodge is still searching for an explanation on the call here. What they have gone forward to do is set the chains at around the 33-yard line as 1st and 10 Gaffney after the penalty. And now both teams working their way back out onto the field, as Mark Hodge requiring an extended explanation that time around, and understandably so. And the Indians now back out under the direction of Grayson Loftus as the drive does continue. So a touchdown came off the board on a penalty, then a punt erased on a penalty, and a big lick, but the football was kept with Loftus, and he's down to the 22-yard line. So Spartanburg sold out on the handoff, and Loftus was able to keep it himself and make good work of it.
Duncan Dawkins, the old cliche, it looked like he was shot out of a cannon. My goodness, was that a big hit. And the ability to hang on to the football.
And now timeout being signaled by our officials, as they're going to come over near side for a conversation with Dan Jones. You see the end of the run for Grayson Loftus. And our officials taking just a moment ahead of the next Gaffney play. So still looking for a little bit of a rhythm in this one from a flow standpoint, as it looks like they are going to back the Indians up here. And you saw for just a moment Grayson Loftus, he trying to get the home fans into it, knowing certainly home field advantage, as we talked about at Viking Stadium a year ago as well. worth using in these region contests. After they back his team up, reset it at first down, he's going to give off this time to Tate. And Tate dances across the 30-yard line down to the 29. Well, enough of a herky-jerky start to some degree. We haven't talked a lot about the quarterbacks yet. Let's talk about the Duke commit, Grayson Loftus. He's headed to play ACC ball. Has 10 total touchdowns to his credit so far. 85 of 157. 8 touchdowns through the air, as you saw. A couple more to go with it on the ground. Takes the snap here. Looking for room, and Jeffries will have some. He's got it for another Franklin Financial first down inside the red zone. He'll take Gaffney to the 14-yard line. The other thing, Grayson Loftus has a number of playmakers. We talked about Jeffries. What makes him so special, Tom?
Well, first off, he's got plenty of time to throw the football. His offensive line gave him credit, but also able to survey the field and go away maybe from his first selection there and able to do his progression there. Does a nice job that he has really developed in that category from the beginning of last year.
Inside 4.5 minutes. Going to give off one more time to Tate, but Spartanburg having none of it this go round. That's Cam Jackson up front. He's another of those possessing D1 talent. He's in his senior campaign. 13 tackles, 1.5 sacks for Cam Jackson thus far on the year.
A young man up front, they really like it. 6'3", 305. A senior, he anchors that, and boy, you saw the play of Dawkins. Now, good read by Loftus to pull it out and get a good game. Tate took the brunt of that hit coming off the edge.
Dawkins, who leads the team in sacks with 2.5. 24 tackles, 7 for loss. A luxury to have a couple of seniors right up there on the defensive line. The Vikings very experienced in the trenches. They have seniors on both the offensive and defensive line. One of the reasons people believe this team can go a long way in 2022.
Well, they've got some young spots as well, but when you have guys up front that can kind of set the tone as well, and the linebacking core is experienced, you get to the secondary as well, and you've got some guys that can defend the run and cover as well.
Loftus sees some open real estate in the middle of the field, then decides to toss it at the last moment, and it is caught for a Gaffney touchdown. Loftus patient, looked like he was going to carry it over the middle, and instead decided to fire away to Jamarcus Smith, who's on the roster both as a wide receiver where he does the good work here, and he's part of the quarterbacking unit. In fact, he's Loftus' backup. But he's right where he needed to be as those two connect for the first Gaffney touchdown.
Yeah, how about that? I was getting ready to go that way as well. He's a backup quarterback, but also an athlete as well. And again, rushed through that time and drop of 8 and just too much time and asking your secondary folks to be able to defend that long. And he did a nice job of reading progressions and finding somebody that was open for the touchdown.
So a 36-yard field goal for Spartanburg on the opening drive for the Vikings extended. A couple of penalties on both of these drives really that you tuck away in the back of your mind, extending them. Will Love capped Spartanburg's first trip down the field with a 3 spot, and now Gaffney having answered on this touch of the football with a connection between Loftus and Jamarcus Smith. Now, further conversation happening here as they appear to be bringing the Indians back.
Late call there.
And they're bringing the football back to the 17-yard line. 3rd down on the marker as they will now see Gaffney call a timeout. We'll come back and sort it all out for you, line of scrimmage-wise and touchdown-wise early at Gaffney. So what happened? Scrimmage before he threw it or what? That's what I thought too, but I didn't want to say it until I was sure. throw the ball after talking things over, the crew determining that he had passed the line of scrimmage before he did so. Tom, here's a look at it.
Yeah, good look there. You can see on the far sideline where the line marker is just past that, and it's going to come back. So both coaches that we talked to thought penalties would be really one of the keys in the game. We've seen the roughing the kicker penalty that gave Gaffney opportunity to continue this drive, and then we saw that drive and called a touchdown back.
There's 2 touchdowns now negated by penalties, in essence, on the drive. You saw the one that was caught by Tate came back on the holding call. This one brought back as Loftus was across the line of scrimmage. So it is 3rd down from the 17. Gaffney needs the 4 for a first, and Loftus is going to wrestle out of trouble and then send this toward the corner of the end zone, and flags are down again. It's becoming a rite of passage. This one may be the other way, as both teams have had their fair helping of the flags, it seems, here in the first quarter. We'll see for sure as they sort this out, and it will be, in fact, against the Vikings. One more glance at the sequence here.
Yeah, 3rd down and long, brought pressure this time, and then rolling left just has one-on-one coverage and throws it too far, but the contact there, and the official right on the spot made that call there, spins out. It's a tough throw across his body as well. Sees the end of it there. They've been front and center in this game so far tonight, officiating crew.
Well, let's introduce you to the gentlemen who have seen as much screen time as just about anybody else so far, right? This is our officiating crew tonight, working hard for you in this region contest between Gaffney and Spartanburg. Mr. Collins, our referee, has everything set up one more time. It's stabilized as a 3rd down from just inside the 10-yard line for Gaffney. Again, a first down is available at the 4 for the home team. Loftus looking for more than that, although this ricochets away. Well, thinking flags have been coming, why not? Edward Jeffries tries to sell it as interference one more time. No flags flying this go round. And they still have, Tom, 4th down on the marker over there on the far side as the ball rests at the 8. There's another look at the contact as the coverage was provided by Jaden Brown in the secondary for Spartanburg.
Yeah, might have had that left hand a little bit on the back shoulder there, but came across in front, able to knock it down, and goes as an incomplete pass.
So after all this, it's set up as a 4th down and 4, and Gaffney fills up the backfield, and we get whistles on the snap. As the play clock ran down, and the call is going to be delay against Gaffney. And the flag now waved off, so they picked this up. It was announced delay of game, but evidently Gaffney was granted a timeout by one of the other officials before the flag was thrown. So keep up. We're on a long and winding road, yes, right? At least at this point through this first quarter. And our promises, hopes are we'll settle into a rhythm here with some back and forth football between these two South Carolina powers. But big 4th down coming here as 4th down is in front of the Indians after the timeout. Well, Tom, why do we talk so much about this rivalry? This is the 107th meeting. Spartanburg has won 52. Gaffney has won 51. Wow. And they have tied 3 times. You see how close these two schools are to one another. They've been battling it out since, as we said, 101 years ago to the day, October 7th, 1921. And Tom, as even as you might expect in this rivalry, in fact, if Gaffney were to win tonight, not only would it be 52-52, okay? If they win by 8 points, they will have scored the same amount of points across the course of the 100 years plus of the rivalry. Here's how things have gone in the last 10, and did we say that they play more than once some years? They did so last year. That second score was the Upper State Championship game that sent Gaffney to Columbia.
And that was a game where Spartanburg led. It was at Spartanburg after they played regular season. Spartanburg won 31-12 in that game. They came back and played in that Upper State Championship, and then it turned out a 35-7 effort to the second half when that great run by Gaffney a year ago. They won 3 games down the stretch to win the championship, including the one you called in the 5A championship against Dutch Fork. That ended a 62-game winning streak for Dutch Fork, who'd won 5 consecutive 5A state championships.
If you're wondering about it, York and Clover started playing in 1912. Spartanburg started playing in 1917, organized football. Gaffney in 1920, first met in 21. Facing a fourth down right here in real time. Loftus going to try to run it far side. He is near the marker, and boy, the spot is going to be key right here. He may have just snuck past it. And it will be first and goal for Gaffney. So a fourth down conversion. We talk about tucking stuff away in the back of your mind. The confidence of the senior quarterback pays off.
That's an interesting call because a young man that doesn't rush the ball all that much is 32 carries for 8 yards. He's basically throwing the ball, some quarterback sacks in there as well. But, to give him that opportunity and to convert on fourth down.
And now we got a timeout being called by Spartanburg. So the Vikings wanting to talk this over ahead of the first down and goal for Gaffney. So for all the points you've seen go on the board, come off the board, it is 3-0 Spartanburg on the field goal on the initial drive for the Vikings from Will Love. Gaffney has found it tough. The elusive points for the Gaffney Indians at this point are now down to a first and goal. Let's go back and revisit that Upper State Championship game from a year ago. What were your takeaways from when these two teams met at Viking Stadium with the right to play for the state title on the line?
They had met earlier in the year, and of course that was game one, and Raheem Jeter did not play, the starting quarterback for Spartanburg. And a lot of things developed throughout the course of the year, different regions, and both played well. And it turned out to be a game where Spartanburg led 24-21 at half, but then 35-7 of the second half really kicked it into gear and propelled them to the state championship, which they were able to win. They've got 18 state championships, which is remarkable, but if you think about it, they finished 14 times second. So
as a runner-up,
also lead that in terms of the state of South Carolina.
These two teams with 24 combined state championships between them, and you look at things from the 90s on, they have been right in the thick of it year in and year out. Well, a reminder, it is Friday right now at Wendy's. They have the hot and crispy fries, natural cut, skin on, perfectly sprinkled with sea salt, better than ever at participating U.S. Wendy's. Always remember, it's Friday. It is first down and goal for the Gaffney Indians. Direct snap, carrying it forward, pushing the pile with him, and Gaffney back into the end zone. That's a touchdown for the Indians, and Sugar Jeffries has already enjoyed a celebrated return in front of the home fans. And he will lead his group over to the sideline. He scored the touchdown that sealed the state championship win against Dutch Fork. He had 2 touchdowns in that upper state title game you were talking about, and added 2 more in the quest for the crown for Gaffney as they came from behind to a Dutch Fork team in the state capitol a year ago. The extra point is no good, so they'll be separated in essence by a field goal. Gaffney does put 6 on the board and no more. And after all that, with 2:41 to go in the opening period of action, it is 6-3 Gaffney's lead as they have enjoyed the return of Sugar Jeffries.
I tell you what, it'd take 5 minutes, Jason, just to break down that drive we just saw.
We're not even going to go there.
That Gaffney had 2 touchdowns called back, roughing the kicker on Spartanburg's side. The bottom line was, though, able to get the touchdown and take the lead. I mean, they had the ball at 7:58 all the way out of the 2:41 mark. So over 5 minutes after Spartanburg had a nice drive to get a 3-0 lead. But right now, anyway, I mean, you're trying to just settle in any way you can. A lot of penalties, somewhat disjointed, no flow to the game at this particular point in time, but Gaffney able to take advantage of the situation on fourth down to be able to provide opportunity to get the touchdown.
Well, and maybe a lot of the, I don't know what you call them, but is some of it jitters? Is some of it, working into a rhythm? You got some new personnel in on certain sides. Whatever's going on there, seem to be getting it all out of the way in this first quarter so that we can settle into perhaps one of those classics you're used to seeing between these two old-time rivals. It's going to be returned from just outside the 10. There's some room there to the 25-yard line, and that's where Ryle Sangor will be brought to a halt as It's been a while since Raheem Jeter and company trotted out onto the gridiron, right? They got an extended breather, that Spartanburg offense.
It's like a pitcher, right? They score a lot of runs. You sit over there in the dugout a long time. So we'll see how they do. And, we know how good Jeter is. And maybe as his season progressed last year and the accolades that he received. So it's great to have a guy with that kind of experience behind.
Yeah, you talked about how he did not play in the opener between these two teams last season at Viking Stadium, but would eventually lead this team to a region title in what most believe the toughest region in the state, year in and year out. And this is going to be a pitch near side. Not much room there for Drake Carter. Maybe a yard. And second down coming. Jeter, 20 of 33, 290. His numbers in that upper state championship game on the Spartanburg side of things. Threw a couple of touchdown passes to Taheem Richardson, who was a big part of that Spartanburg team a year ago. Threw one to Danton and then rushed for another. And he'll, speaking of Danton, hit him on cue near side. Andrew Danton is a possession receiver. The senior, 5'11", 175, Tom, such sure hands, and they go to him in so many key moments.
Tell you what, that's a good catch there. He has to kind of dive to make that catch with his hands and bring it to the body. Not going to be able to turn it up. Maybe want to get it to him a little bit closer, and you can turn and get a few more yards. But a great job to just make the catch there.
Third down after Danton does make that impressive catch. Jeter and company needing the 35. Going to send Sangor, who returned it a moment ago, in motion. Dances out of the initial trouble. Jeter going to be spun around, stayed on his feet, and willed himself to the first down for the Vikings.
Tell you what, Jason, that's an outstanding run because it looked like he was going to be tackled short and maybe even stripped of the ball. But he's big, strong, tough. Watch it again there. And there's going to come a time, it looks like right there. But boy, he does a great job to hang on. And I mean, that was Sherman Tate, the big nose tackle.
Gives off to Carter, who's good for a positive first down gain near the midfield logo at the 45-yard line. And Jeter's maturity on display. We'll talk about how well he handles the quarterback in the community. It's still a thing in these parts, right? So the way you have to handle yourself, the expectations that are there, even off the field, and by so many, and certainly the youngsters coming behind you that look up to you in moments like this. Not only does he have the athletic talent on the field, but they're seeing that growth and maturity character-wise, which is something the Vikings focus so much on. Their coaching staff does such a nice job with. That's easy to see why he's become the leader of this squad. Jeter, he's got a first down by tossing this out far side. And inside Gaffney territory at the 39-yard line is Quay Moore. And Moore is slow to get up. One of the key weapons in the Spartanburg passing attack. Has moved the chains with a Franklin Financial first down, but it may be somewhat costly.
Yeah, just drop it in the bucket there, boy. Nice pass play, and then he gets hit late there over the top and shaken up a little bit.
Moore, who has 26 catches for 509 yards, 5 touchdowns coming in. Mentioned he's the nephew of DJ Moore, and kind of long of 63, one of the catches this year, averages about 19 per. So you certainly hope he's going to be able to continue the distance for a Spartanburg team, having worked its way into Gaffney on this night, and with 1 quarter of action in the books. 6-3 between the Indians and the Vikings. Well, a reminder from presenting sponsor Ingles. Don't let game night dinner get you stressed. Stop by Ingles. Great choices from the Ingles Deli, rotisserie chicken, fresh made salads. They have the delicious hot bar and sub bar. It's dinner and a snap, then off to the game. Ingles, low prices, love the savings. With 1 quarter in the books here in Cherokee County, it is order it up weather in the Palmetto State on this Friday night with the bright lights on this one. Temperatures on the doorstep of 70 degrees on this Friday evening in Gaffney. Spartanburg to work to begin the quarter, and Jeter nearly connected with some Spartanburg fans in the front row of the seats over there. That's how strong his arm is, but it is incomplete as he just cleared it out of there with pressure coming once more.
Yeah, Surratt came in there and put pressure on him, and that's the right thing to do. Just, throw it away and live to see another down.
Warmest night of the week.
Man.
Clear skies. I mean, this is October, right? You have to check yourself. This is October. It's very, very nice weather for this battle between these two rivals. Here's the second down play. Jeter over the middle. Incomplete. Was trying to connect with Kamari Cunningham. Has done so 9 times for just under 200 yards and a couple of touchdowns this season. But Caliber Huey was there to provide the disruption. Huey caught the touchdown pass that put Gaffney on the board as a receiver in the meeting between these two teams over in Spartanburg a season ago during the regular campaign. But he's found a home in the secondary, and here he disrupts to force third down. Jeter communicating with his trips on the far side. He's got very little time to work with, and it turns out that the delay against Spartanburg will back the Vikings up once more. Boy, we were talking about it during the break, Tom, but as much going on with penalties and almost that weren't, and this looks like it's going to be, but it's not in that first quarter to last the entirety of the football game. And here, this is going to be waved off, so it will be 3rd and 10 as Spartanburg, it seems, was granted the timeout just before the flag. So that's what's awaiting you on the other side of the break. 3rd and 10 for the Vikings. Interesting.
Can you show me Mark Hodge out of the Spartanburg coach?
Well, a reminder, you want to stick around at the half. We will have the Asheville Chevy Show coming up for you. Interviews with a number of the key personalities on both sides. You'll get a glance back at what's been a wild first half thus far in highlights and stats, all that and more. Stan and Bobby, as always, providing the Asheville Chevy Show at the half here on Friday Night Rivals. 3rd down from the 40-yard line for a Spartanburg team trailing by just 3. Gaffney sending pressure from the near side. Jeter hangs in there, fires this toward the end zone, and it is incomplete. Boy, Cunningham again contested, this time Gaffney with Sims there. Boy, Tom, a lot of contact, and it's continuing even after the play.
Even after the play there. I mean, had under tremendous duress there and just lets it go and never turned around, but didn't make enough contact there to draw that flag, although he's got him hooked up pretty good. I mean, that probably could have gone against Gaffney, but it didn't.
Sophomore Jaden Sims there on the coverage. Spartanburg to punt it away. Try to pin Gaffney deep. This will take a Vikings bounce and roll to the 9-yard line. As the Indians get set to take over and send Grayson Loftus and company back out. Now 6-3 as we settle into the early stages of the second quarter. And there's that Gaffney staff sending its team out. How about Dan Jones in the heart of all that? He has 4 wins from becoming, there he is taking that headset off. 4 wins from becoming the winningest coach in Gaffney history. And Tom, there are 4 of them with 100 or more victories. He's climbing the ladder, Dan Jones. And after winning the championship in 2012, when he started his time as the head coach after being an assistant for a long, long time, came back and won one last year, but said he loves coaching football so much, just staying right here in the game for the foreseeable future. We asked him, did you think about going out on top and bookending it? He said, I'm not going to tell you it didn't cross my mind, but he loves coaching so much that he is hung right in there. Tommy, he's put his name alongside the likes of Coach Bob Pravat, who the field is named after here at Gaffney. And then, Coach Joe Montgomery, the list goes on and on. The time that was spent here by A.L. Curtis, the 80s and beyond. And his name right there, when you think about 4 wins away from becoming all-time the winningest coach in this place, that's saying something. Second down for his team, backed up in the shadow of their own goal line. And this is into the hands of the receiver. Looked like it might be through there momentarily. You wondered, was that going to be a reception? Was that going to be a pick? It is Little John who's there to make the catch. And amazing, Little John makes it 3rd down and 7 for Gaffney.
Yeah, somewhat of amazing catch for that young man, and had time to throw, guns it in. They're good coverage as well, but boy, able to get in there and corral it for a catch.
And we double-checked it. That's how you say his name, Amazing. You'll see him do some of those type things on the field, and that's what his quarterback is trying to do right now. Loftus rushing across the 25. He'll move the chains with a Franklin Financial first down. Both these quarterbacks can hurt you with the legs. We can talk a lot about their strong arms, but they are both dual threat in every sense of the word.
Well, and the key being read there is everybody dropped off. The pressure came. He stepped up. It was there. He saw he had enough and more to get the first down. So both these guys are really experienced and able to read the defenses and take what's there. In this case, first down.
First down coming for Dan Jones, Gaffney Indians. We introduced you to the head coach of the Indians just a moment ago. His team stacked up immediately here. If you're wondering about it, Bob Pravet 119, 29, and 11. Dan Jones at 116. Joe Montgomery 108 and 56 in his time here. That's in addition to his wins in Florida and then at Rock Hill where he coached for a while. A.L. Curtis 142. So those are the 4 100-win coaches here at Gaffney. Phil Strickland 170 and just finished up his fine career at Newberry not long ago. And there's Mark Hodge, who's coming off a tenure at Chapman a few years ago where he won a couple state titles, played for 3 back home in Spartanburg. Both these coaches in many ways a return home. And he's had his impact on Spartanburg County throughout as Mark Hodge. His defense trying to tighten up here. 3rd down coming for Gaffney as this is caught near the marker.
You're talking about Coach Hodge at Chapman, 82 and 26, but won 47 of his last 49 games, including the championships in 2016, 2019 as well, and finished second in 2017.
Third down coming for Gaffney at the 34-yard line, needing just a handful. It's a long 3 that the Indians need. Loftus looking at his options left side. He is under duress once more, and he will be dropped. Darian Nelson, a senior, came in with 40 tackles, 6 of them for loss, and 1 sack. He just doubled his total, and Mark Hodge loves what he saw from his defense right there.
Yeah, set up by the defensive end, Duncan Dawkins. He had to duck under that, and that was an opportunity to clean up there on the backside.
His team getting off the field as Gaffney is set to kick it away. You mentioned his record at Chapman 17-10 at Spartanburg at this juncture in 3 seasons, and he's got 111 wins against 56 losses overall to go alongside those 2 state championships. Longtime assistant. There are a number of coaching connections between these 2 teams, which we'll talk about as the night rolls along. But 2 of the great gentlemen in this game going head-to-head, and there's a great deal of mutual respect on all sides by these coaching staffs.
Yeah, we appreciate their time this week. A lot of, coaches get into a routine, and you don't want to get knocked off, but a lot of requests for them this week. We appreciate their time.
Yeah, full-time friends, Friday night foes. That's kind of the way you can describe it, I guess. So many of these coaches on both sides who have worn colors and then swapped them at times in this rivalry, as often can be the case with such close proximity. Raheem Jeter back to work for Mark Hodges' Vikings. Jeter quickly to the skies, and look at Danton stay up after first contact, and he'll keep fighting toward midfield. The toughness of Andrew Denton on display as he moves the chains for Spartanburg.
Huey hit him hard, but hit him up high, and then Clay Cook had to come and help finish it off. Had time, running back helped block inside there, and if you go up high, probably not going to bring him down in single contact there.
Danton getting the Franklin Financial first down the hard way for Spartanburg. And to snap this direction from the Spartanburg center, that ball loose near the 50-yard line. Now we'll see how they sort this out. Officials standing over it as if it will be Gaffney's, and it will. Ruled a fumble, and the Indians have taken over just inside Spartanburg territory.
Now let's get a look at that.
Clay Cook coming to the sideline and celebrating. His dad, Bryce Cook, we were told by the staff, played outside linebacker for Coach Jones when he was a position coach. He ends up celebrating with his teammates after this is knocked away, as he's the gentleman who gets on top of it. Had a little help there, Tom. Was not alone, as Gaffney also, James Henderson there to fall on the football.
Hey, what the good look there. That ball came out. He was trying to just unload it and try to obviously get it past the line of scrimmage, but that ball came out of his hand. Good call.
So a turnover. And Gaffney with Loftus rushing it left side to around the 45-yard line. That's the other thing about these coaches being in this area in many ways for a lifetime. Both of them spending their entire coaching careers here in the upstate. Both of them played right here in the upstate, in the county in essence, where they both played, with their fingerprints all over these programs. They have played with, or in the case of the elder statesmen of the 2, coached daddies and granddaddies at this point, right? In some cases, it seems like.
And they're all back here.
As the family titles roll thick. Gaffney taking a deep shot. Jeffries, and a little hand fighting between he and the defender, Jaden Brown, but it falls incomplete. That's one thing you notice when you hear these names. If you're from this upstate region of South Carolina, they truly are the same names you've heard for generations. Daddies, granddaddies, everything else bringing home championships and challenging these to do the same. There's the hand fighting that was taking place there, and Jeffrey's trying to sell that another one should be thrown, but they let him play, and third down is coming. So after the deep shot, what will the Indians do on 3rd down and 8? And that's picked. Spartanburg takes it right back as Jacob Madison comes up with the interception for the Vikings. Well, one turn deserves another, and Spartanburg celebrates the takeaway.
And I tell you, the pressure, he stepped up, tried to get rid of it in a hurry, did, and nicely done by Madison, an all-region player from a year ago, makes the big defensive play there. Now pretty good field position.
Yeah, 42 tackles so far on the year, has an interception to go with it, does the all-region performer from 21. Talked about what a leader he is on defense and how he's starting to get noticed for the tremendous impact he has around the ball. Has a pick to prove it in this one. And the give is to Carter as Mark Hodge looks on. Jeffries there for the stop. Just a loss of 1 and second down coming.
That first drive that Spartanburg had, they were able to get good yardage early in the downs, and here they've been behind the markers most recently.
Behind the sticks here on 2nd and 11. Looking for the 30-yard line for what would be a First Franklin Financial first down. Number 1, Jeter, going to tuck this down. And works through the first potential open field tackle and stays on his feet to the 24-yard line. That's a First Franklin Financial first down and a whole lot more for the Viking QB.
Tell you what, King Dowdle got him, but at 2:36, I don't, coming into your screen there, I don't know if you want to go get him, but he's a big guy, and a couple of guys able to bring him down there. Good gain.
First down, 6 and change, and ticking downward remaining in the opening half. You don't want to jinx it anyway, but feels like it's working into a little bit of a rhythm now between the Indians and the Vikings, and Spartanburg looking to reclaim the lead they held early at 3-0 as they've driven to the doorstep of the red zone. Jeter slings this out far side. It's incomplete. Yet just in describing this rivalry, it's the type of battles that people write books about, songs about, poems about, name their kids after the heroes of, right? You're put to bed with stories of the Stephen Davises and the like on the Spartanburg side of things, the Sidney Rices and the like, just some of the recent names on the Gaffney side of things, and it goes way further back than that. Tonight a night for these young men to make their mark, and Raheem Jeter and his crew trying to do that right now as he moves Carter to his right hip ahead of the second down snap. Looking, end zone, Danton, and just out of his reach. Andrew Denton, who's already secured one of the more impressive catches of the night because of the contact he withstood in doing so. And you could say this about Jeter, he's withstood a good bit of contact tonight already as well.
Had one-on-one coverage there, much like we saw with Jeffries a moment ago, and took a shot deep and just out of his reach. Danton's a guy that you talked about, our outstanding possession receiver, been a solid player for Spartanburg over the years.
3rd down and 10 from the 24 for the Vikings. Jeter gets away enough to throw the football in the direction of Carter, but couldn't put it on target, and it's that Gaffney pressure that makes the difference once more. And you want to talk about legacy players? How about number 7 on the left of your screen, Brayshawn Littlejohn, the Missouri commitment involved there. He, of course, a relative of Bradshaw Littlejohn, who you may remember led Gaffney to state championship opportunities in days gone by. And speaking of family connections, Will Love out again. He's looking for his second field goal of the half, this one of 41 yards. And if he makes this from the left hash, it'll tie up the football game. And the Indians move 4th and 10. Were they drawn? Straight off sides for Gaffney. And Spartanburg a little closer. And if you missed it when we brushed over it a little bit earlier, his brother, the outstanding kicker for the Vikings, one of the top 15 kickers in the class that graduated a year ago, now kicking for the Virginia Tech Hokies. And it's Will Love having taken over those duties for Spartanburg at this point. And waiting on the snap, play clock down to 5. Plenty of time still as Love puts a foot into it. It is a low kick, and it's going to fall short of the bar. No good. So Spartanburg attempting the second field goal of the night. Will Love connecting on the first on the other end of the field to start the scoring this evening. Sees this one fall just short of the crossbar, and it stays at 6-3.
I'll tell you, with the penalties, and I mean that got it 41. You kind of, you wonder. Pretty good distance there, but get it to 36 and miss that one. But boy, the penalties by both teams here in the first half, not going to be happy, I don't think, either head coach.
Well, he missed that one there, but pretty strong leg for the freshman kicker. Keep in mind, this young man, we didn't talk about that part of it, a freshman having attempted one and made the other for attempting 2, I should say, for Spartanburg tonight. Gaffney just that quickly back to work, and ball to the turf on the far side. 2nd down and 10 coming for the Indians. This a couple of teams that had outstanding kickers. We documented that on the Spartanburg side of things with the brother of the current kicker, Will Love. Of course, A.J. Haynes for the longest time for Gaffney, left-footed kicker, provided some consistency there, but they're working in some youngsters on special teams, which was a point of concern for both of these coaches coming into this one tonight, whether it be from a protection or a coverage standpoint. That third team on the field, always critical. This tossed out near the sideline to Little John again. Amazing Little John makes the catch. And another third down coming, this time a 3rd and 5.
And a quick out there, get some of the yardage back there.
Little John, who's caught 31 for 297 yards, a couple of touchdowns on the year. His latest reception. 3rd and 5 as Spartanburg looks to get off the field defensively. 5.5 to go in a low-scoring affair thus far. Back to Little John. And helmet lost as Jaden Brown was there contesting it after the catch. It is enough for a First Franklin Financial first down. So you move the chains for Gaffney to the 34-yard line, a physical end to that play.
I'll tell you what, they found something they kind of like there with on Little John, just about 5 yards down out, get rid of it in a hurry, and able to pick up enough there for a first down to keep it alive here. This could turn out to be a big drive here late in the first half. Had back-to-back turnovers by both teams, missed a field goal as well.
So Little John with the catch on the First Franklin Financial first down. And now flag flies. Spartanburg pointing to that Gaffney offensive line. This Gaffney O-line, Tom, so experienced a year ago. One of the reasons they made that deep run in the playoffs, really having been pieced it together. You got a major talent in the sophomore Surratt, as you talked about, and yes, seniors and juniors, but seniors and juniors coming into their own in that role.
They are, and and relatively inexperienced to a certain extent, and then getting an opportunity to play this year and getting better, as Coach told us, as the season has gone on, and just trying to get some cohesiveness and consistency on that offensive line.
Well, it speaks to the offensive line play that you had 3 1,000-yard backs a year ago, right? The quarterback doing such good work, and then you had the tandem, both of them now having graduated, that helped lead this team deep in the playoffs and all the way to Columbia.
Yeah, Tyler Smith had 2,000 yards rushing, and Little John had another 1,000 plus as well, and they were a very good combination. And I think both teams eventually will have maybe not that type of numbers.
Going for Sugar Jeffries deep again, and this is going to have too much air underneath it.
But I think they really like what they have right now. But boy, to try to replace 2 guys like that from the same team a year ago, and their numbers were huge against Spartanburg last year, particularly that first game, the 31-12 game, when Loftus was just kind of getting used to the new system there at Gaffney after transferring in. Those 2 guys had about 192 combined yards in that game. Tyler
Smith and Ken Littlejohn, of course. Tyler Smith really taking over in many ways Upper State Championship game as well, when you go back and look at some of that, and then, as we said, propelling Gaffney forward in major ways, and 2 great young backs in this one with experienced quarterbacks that we get to see on this occasion. This tossed back the direction. There's a Little John, ball on the turf. We'll see how they rule this. Gaffney ended up on it after all, as Jake Burke worked his way to the football. But it's going to be a stop for Spartanburg, so the Vikings set to give a return opportunity to Denton after they disrupt this.
So that ball hung up there just a little bit, had pressure from Little John, and came back the other way on a pivot there, and just falls incomplete.
Denton has already returned to punt 48 yards for a touchdown on the season. He'll fair catch this one, and it'll be 1st and 10 at the 43-yard line for the Spartanburg Vikings.
Well, you're still waiting just for a little bit more rhythm, a little bit more flow in this one. It's been some penalties along the way. It seems like each and every time, and you kind of get into a groove a little bit, then you get set back. So you're still kind of waiting for that. I mean, it's a 6-3 ball game, 4:48 to play in the second quarter. And there's still plenty to go in this game, but a little bit out of sync here for both teams so far.
Well, this balanced Spartanburg offense looking to find its groove, and the give off right side for Spartanburg to Harris. Think about this, Tom. This team has 14 touchdowns rushing, 14 touchdowns passing. Hard to be much more balanced than this Spartanburg squad. You see the good work that is done on the ground right here by Trey Harris. He does have one touchdown, though he's carried it just 10 times for 25 yards on the year.
And the key there was got some positive yards on first down. Give you a little more option right here on 2nd and 5.
If Spartanburg can establish some things on the ground, opens up so many of those bubble screens, middle of the field. And space for Raheem Jeter. He did not have much, but made something out of nothing to get to the Gaffney 45 and move the chains with a First Franklin Financial first down. You know, those may not be the prettiest of plays you see from a talented quarterback by Raheem Jeter, but it's some of the hardest work he'll do all night to make something out of nothing.
James Henderson lets to ride him down there again at 236, a big guy, and once he gets going, he's tough to bring down, and one goes low, one goes high, and able to get him down.
All-state QB, 16 total of those touchdowns we talked about, the 28 split evenly on the year for Spartanburg. He's been involved in one way or another, either through the air or with those wheels you just witnessed. He sends Harris far side, tried to sling it out that direction, but Gaffney with enough disruption to turn it away.
Boy, and they had what they wanted right there. They had more running deep, and they're going to throw back underneath to Harris there, and he could have gone a long way, but a good job defensively.
Karan Foster, who had an interception on a tip ball of the quarterback that they put in there as a pass rush specialist. Interception on a tip ball in one of the earlier games this season that was of memory. 14 tackles and that one pick on the year, but he was in the thick of that for the Gaffney defense. 2nd down, 10. Jeter near side 45, and he's inside into the 43. Now there is a flag down back on the Spartanburg side of the field at the 48, and it looks as if this is going to be holding and bring that run back.
Has not had much time to throw the football tonight, and you know, you kind of look and read your progressions. There's really no time to do that. He's got to bail out of there and make that kind of call. And then after you do that, get a couple of yards downfield, but can bring it back because of another flag on the field.
Now the holding call being walked off against Spartanburg. So promising start to this drive. Now sees the Vikings facing 2nd down and forever. Spartanburg needs the 36-yard line of Gaffney for a First Franklin Financial first down. Underneath, there's one of those screens we referenced a moment ago, trying to get it to Singer, but he's smothered up just shy of the 40-yard line. Well, when Spartanburg can get those bubble screens working and open up some things over the middle, in complement to what Jeter can do on the ground, particularly with the help of Carter and Kiki Kelly, the new youngster. It's a dangerous team just trying to find that traction right now, as both teams are. 3rd down, a mile. And Jeter smothered up and dropped as Foster gets in there to make the stop. We talked about Foster as a pass rush specialist. Here's why.
Yeah, you probably don't have a lot of calls on 3rd and 26, but he just turns it loose and coming backside. Nothing there. I mean, he didn't really have an opportunity. He stepped up, and there was Foster to bring him down.
Foster's the one I was referencing earlier, that tip and pick when he was in there in the backfield. You got a good look at Foster there as the pass rush specialist pays off on this occasion. Fair catch at the 30. And after penalties derailed this drive, Spartanburg kicks it away, and Gaffney will take over with 2:19 remaining in the opening half. Just 9 total points on the board between these two very explosive offenses thus far.
I mean, Spartanburg came in averaging 32.7 and coming off the 36 points against in the win last week against Burns, which is a huge win to begin region play. So they, with 3 consecutive wins, and see Dan Jones there, but they'd put 59, 35, and 36 back-to-back in the 3 previous games they'd won.
And now this Gaffney offense that had been coming into its own the last few weeks goes back to work. First play to Jeffries, and he will be untouched as the Indians with a 70-yardish connection push out front a little further at 12-3. As Sugar Jeffries, who has been one of the stories tonight in his return to action, and he has the longest connection and the highlight moment of the evening thus far.
A wide open, broken coverage there into the secondary, and good job though to shift a little bit and throw it deep, and able to hit him in stride for the touchdown.
70 yards later, 12-3 Gaffney, and the extra point coming from Matthew Breen. And once again, the kick missed, so it is no good. Couple of touchdowns, minus the extra points on the board for Gaffney, added up to 12 as they lead the Vikings late second quarter. Well, it's Friday night. That means it's Friday at Wendy's. You can try the new hot and crispy fries. They're natural cut, skin on, perfectly sprinkled with sea salt. Better than ever at participating U.S. Wendy's, where it is Friday. Well, Tom, a 70-yard connection. Gaffney Indians between Loftus and the return of Sugar Jeffries, highly celebrated already by the home faithful. And Loftus took a lick at the end of this.
He did. He hung in there, and sometimes you forget about that part of it to a certain extent. Little John able to nail him, but you're going to get hit, and kind of backpedaling there. Didn't get really a chance to step into it, but got enough good arm strength to get it out there. And we mentioned before, sometimes the toughest catch is when you're wide open, and Jeffrey's done that before in his career, and takes it the distance for the touchdown.
Matchup to this point marked by defense and somewhat a lack of rhythm when you factor the penalties in there on both sides. Now sitting at 12-3 after a couple of Gaffney touchdowns after Spartanburg's early field goal. Here's the response on special teams for the Vikings, and plenty of room for Cunningham as he'll carry this all the way back to the 44-yard line. A lift for the Spartanburg Vikings on the return of Kamari Cunningham. He and his crew will take over when you return to Gaffney. a region win against another of the perennial powers here in the upstate, Burns, 36-23 at home at Viking Stadium a week ago. Trailing Gaffney on the road late first half, but this return, Tom, giving Spartanburg a lift. A nice job to kind of jumpstart this offense, perhaps, from special teams by Kamari Cunningham.
Cunningham's been a factor in the ball game, and that one was huge. It gives you the opportunity. You have really good field position. You got plenty of time here with less than 2 minutes to go.
And the Vikings go to work. Here now is another look at that return. First play from scrimmage for Spartanburg, covered up on the hand to Carter. And he is stopped immediately. So second down, and it's something you referenced earlier. You know how explosive the Spartanburg offense can be, but they've been behind the sticks on first down losses so often that have set the tone for these drives. They'll try to change field position with a toss to Carter again. He's up near midfield, but Tom, for all the gain that he secured on second down, they again were behind the chains.
And you can tee off a little bit on defense as well. And I mean, we've been talking about a little bit out of sync, disjointed a little bit, but you know what? Give some credit to the both defenses who've done a really good job of shutting down the offenses here in the first half.
Third down, Gaffney trying to do that one more time. Jeter looking for something late of consequence in the first half. 1:04 and ticking downward remaining. He'll move Carter off to his right one more time. Let's play more all the way out here wide in front of that Gaffney sideline. And Jeter tried to step through traffic, but a couple of gray jerseys waiting for him. And he is dropped with 45 seconds remaining in the half. Timeout Gaffney now, as fourth down is coming, and the Indians may decide to take the remaining 45 seconds or so for a spin after their defense did this.
I mean, Jeter's just under pressure. He doesn't really have time to even look downfield before he's got to step up. And when he does, a trio of Gaffney Indians and maybe more would get there to eventually bring the big guy down and call a timeout, get the ball back. He just had a 11-second drive for a touchdown. Who knows?
Karan Foster, Nate Johnson in there on that. A couple of the big guys up front. We talked about the pass rushing specialist, Foster. Of course, Johnson, who we mentioned heading to Appalachian State, disrupting that for Gaffney as well. Now they're enjoying what they've seen so far from here in Cherokee County as the Gaffney Indians lead at 12-3. But you just get the sense Spartanburg at some point, these two, regardless of the stage, regardless of the scenario, generally get clicking and turn it into a classic. And that was the expectation coming in here tonight. We talked to fans on both sides and obviously the coaches and all those surrounding these programs. Everybody expecting this one to go right down to the wire
Everybody
tonight.
has an opinion. That's right.
That's right. One thing they could agree on is they expected it to be a very tight contest. We'll see if that holds up. If nothing else, Gaffney taking the timeout, forcing Spartanburg to put the punting unit out there to see if anything happens on the kick. But this is a booming kick. Well done from the 44-yard line on the Spartanburg side of the field. And Gaffney will take over inside the 15. Well, your reflections on this first half thus far with 36 seconds or so remaining.
Well, the way Spartanburg got off to a really good start the first time they had the football, able to get good yardage, get downfield, but then when they got about the 20-yard line or so, nice job defensively by Gaffney to shut them down and force that 36-yard field goal by Will Love. And then the first possession for Gaffney coming back was one that had a lot of moving parts, a couple touchdowns called back and so forth, and eventually would get into the end zone. 6-3, good field position. Each team's had a turnover. The defenses have been good in the first half, but then you see Loftus there threw that 70-yard touchdown pass last time out to Sugar Jeffries.
Well, after that, you wonder what Gaffney's thinking about doing with the football here. 30 seconds remaining in the half as they will keep it on the ground. Flag comes in at the very end of this at the 15-yard line. Those are going to be the numbers to keep an eye on when we reach the half, right?
Yeah.
The penalties and how costly they were at inopportune times for both teams.
Roughing the kicker was one of those that kept that first possession alive for Gaffney.
The Indians had a couple of touchdowns come off the board on penalties before ultimately putting the 12 up in this first half. First and a handful. Gaffney seeing it. Perhaps they pop something here, and another flag comes down with 14 seconds to play in the half. Now you want to stick around for the Asheville Chevy show at the half. We'll have stats and highlights toward the end of the Asheville Chevy show. You'll meet a number of personalities from both these schools, both these programs. All part of the Asheville Chevy show coming up at the half. Just 14 or so seconds from now, as the Indians will be backed up inside their own 15. You wouldn't expect much here, Tom.
No, you're going to just get to the locker room.
In the scenario that exists, final few game clock seconds roll off here in this first half, and the homestanding Gaffney Indians will carry a lead that matches the senior quarterback's jersey number, at least a total that does. 12 points put up on the board by Gaffney, and they will have the lead at 12-3. But neither of these teams really, it seems, having completely hit their stride just yet. So it'll be interesting to see what the second half holds. We will hear on the Carolina Furniture Concepts Coaches Corner from Gaffney head coach Dan Jones as he heads to the locker room here in just a moment. And the take of both of these coaches, Coach Jones going in and Coach Hodge coming out, will be very interesting after an unusual half of football. Now, Gaffney's coming off of a bye week. Spartanburg coming off of a region game already under their belt. And I think for both sides, not as crisp as maybe they would have liked here in this first half.
Gaffney, who had the week off, you and I asked Coach Jones during our conversation this week, you know, how's that going to affect you? He goes, we'll find out on Friday. He thought, but we talked to him before the game. He thought that they had a really good week of practice.
His team will carry a 12-3 lead into the locker room. You see Gaffney heading there now. And the Vikings with the early field goal taking the 3-0 lead, and 12 and company putting 12 up since to bring us to the half. And just about time to check in with Nelson, who is rounding up the Gaffney head coach. And here is Dan Jones standing by with Nelson on the Carolina Furniture Concepts Coaches Corner.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Jason. This is the Coach's Corner, brought to you by Carolina Furniture Concepts. Well, Coach, I won't keep you long. What were your thoughts on the first half of the game, sir?
Well, kind of like I expected. You know, Raheem's a great player, getting it to some of his better athletes, and we got to figure out a way to keep him off the field. Hopefully that's by us generating a little bit of a running game. We hadn't been able to do that the first half.
All right, well, Coach, good luck to you and your boys in the second half then. Yes, sir. We'll be back in just a moment.
Well, they have been playing this rivalry for over a century. Always has its interesting moments. Latest chapter has reached the intermission with Gaffney leading Spartanburg 12-3.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
I had the name and Instagram on the back for it, so book it. Okay, cool. I'll check with him.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Nelson West. Joining us is our RV Scholar athlete winner from Spartanburg High School, Miss Anna Booker. Yeah, gotta get it right, Booker. Anna, welcome to the show. Congratulations on the win. And we'll talk about your accomplishments. We'll talk about your GPA, your involvement. Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Nelson Weston. Thank you for tuning in to the halftime show. In this case, the Asheville Chevrolet halftime show, right here on Friday Night Rivals. Joining us are our proud sponsors from the aforementioned Asheville Chevrolet halftime show, Stan Anders and Bobby Russell. Gentlemen, always a pleasure to see you both.
Pleasure to see you.
Of course.
Pleasure to see you as always.
Indeed, indeed. Now, let's talk about y'all's proud and long-time sponsorship. From what I understand, this goes back quite a while. Talk to us about how this all got started, number one, and number two, why is this so important for y'all to continue to supporting both high school athletics as well as the community as a whole?
Well, the reason when we originally started it was Thursday night is when we did it, and we finally got to move it. They moved it to Friday night, And we were just really happy to sponsor something that gives back to the community, to the whole community, to all the kids, the parents, the grandparents, something that we can do for Asheville.
Indeed, that's
and
terrific.
the surrounding areas.
Stan, you want to add to that?
No, I mean, we've been there since day one when the station started broadcasting the games, and we're excited to have an opportunity to give back to the community in that way.
All right, day one sponsors. I like that. Now, you guys are from Asheville Chevrolet, so I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you. Let's talk about business, shall we? What kind of inventory are we looking at right now? What's on the lot? Any good deals? Any specials? You know, what's going on out there?
Well, everyone knows there's been an inventory shortage for the last year, but we do have more and more vehicles starting to come in, Silverados, Tahoes, Suburbans, and even some of the smaller vehicles. But what I want the viewers to know is that when you come to Asheville Chevrolet, you're going to get treated with respect. We're not going to mark our vehicles up over MSRP like some dealers are doing. We're not going to go back and forth between the salesman and a manager and a customer. We're going to give you the price, and we're going to give you a fair price on your trade, and we're going to treat you with the respect that you deserve.
All right, sounds like a respectful business indeed. I like that. Well, Stan, on behalf of My40 and Friday Night Rivals, you and Bobby, thank y'all both so much for your long-standing and proud sponsorship. We really could not do this without you both.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be back in just a moment.
I looked at some places in Florida, and then I just went to UNC Asheville, and then I have some more visits. Biology.
Very good. Want to be a doctor? Or?
I want to go more into like marine sciences, maybe, or something with
Florida is
research.
a place. When I was in 6th grade, I wanted to be a marine biologist. I wanted a professor.
Florida like 2 weeks ago, and I liked it.
Well, I kind of envy you.
Eddie, he's counting down. Yeah. Welcome back to the Asheville Chevrolet Halftime Show here on Friday Night Rivals. Joining us is our RB Scholar Athlete winner from Spartanburg High School, Miss Anna Bucher. Anna, good to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And congratulations on the win.
Thank
now,
you.
Anna, you are currently an academic superstar, I must say. You're currently sitting on a 5.4 GPA. You're a member of Mu Alpha Theta, the Beta Club, the National Honor Society, the National Art Honor Society, and the School Improvement Council as well. I mean, just how do you find time for such academic superstardom? What's your secret?
Well, I definitely concentrate on my schoolwork. Whenever I'm at home, I'm definitely trying to work on my schoolwork, and I'm trying to get involved in the school however I can.
Magnificent. Now, from what I understand, you are also a swimming superstar as well. You were the 2019 5A state champion, the 2020 5A state champion. I want to get this right now. The national team for Spartaquatics, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, what is that all about, and what are some of your accomplishments in the swimming arena?
So on my club team, I'm a member of our national team, so it's just great. I really get challenged, and we have a really close team that supports each other when we go to our national meets. So I've had some achievements on the national level, and then we have actually our high school state meet tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, we wish you the best of luck then. I'm sure you're going to do remarkable, though. Now, Anna, what are some of your post-high school plans?
I plan to attend a 4-year college and get a degree in biology, and then pursue a master's degree.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. I like that. Now, you're also pretty involved in your community as well. You mentor a lot of young swimmers, but you also volunteer as well. Share with us some of your volunteer organizations in which you, share with us the organizations in which you volunteer and in what specific capacity.
Yeah, so I help to coach and lifeguard at Hillbrook Pool, so it's great to be able to kind of hang out with the younger kids and teach them some valuable lessons. But then I also volunteer through the YMCA and through my swim team, so we've done stuff like packaging boxes and just like volunteering with the younger kids on the team.
Excellent work indeed. And it sounds like you're going to continue that when you go off to college next year as well. Am I correct to assume that?
Yes, sir.
I like it. Well, Anna, once again, you are our RB Scholar Athlete winner for this week. Congratulations, and best of luck in all your future endeavors as well.
Thank you.
Arby's, we have the meats. We'll be back in just a moment. Outstanding. Oh, you know what? There we go. Good job. Yeah, I'll take that. Great. See, there you go.
Yeah, we got it.
Welcome back to the Asheville Chevrolet Halftime Show here on Friday. Welcome back to the Asheville Chevrolet Halftime Show here on Friday Night Rivals. Joining us is our RB Scholar Athlete winner from Gaffney High School, Miss Emma Paris. Emma, it's good to have you on the show.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Of course, and congratulations on the win as well. Quite the accomplishment.
Thank you.
And speaking of accomplishments, Emma, you are also quite an athlete, I must say. You've had 4 years for varsity cross country and, of course, 4 years of varsity soccer. I mean, how do you do it?
Well, I try my best at everything I do and just give my all.
Mm-hmm. And what are some of your accomplishments within these two sports? Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, sir. My ninth grade year, I won the Girls Runner of the Year for cross country, and I won 5A All-Region winner in 10th grade for soccer, as well as the Coaches Award. And then last year, my 11th grade year, I was given the team All MVP.
Spectacular indeed. We're very proud of you. Now let's shift our focus to academics, shall we? Because you are an academic superstar as well. You're a member of the Beta Club, National Honor Society, the English National Honor Society. I mean, talk to us about the level of focus and preparation that you put into academics and in terms of how to sustain it as well.
Yes, sir. Well, I try to devote my time to each subject to try to study for how much I need to for each one, depending on the level of the test that week or different things like that.
Outstanding. Now, let's also talk about the fact that in terms of the community involvement, you are a volunteer extraordinaire, I must say. You volunteer with an organization called RADA, R-A-D-A. You also volunteer with the Jerusalem Project. You're involved with your church, and you're also involved with Meals on Wheels as well. It does raise the question, how do you have so much time on your hands? And furthermore, the acronym RADA, for those who are unfamiliar, what does that stand for?
Well, RADA stands for Rise Above Drugs and Alcohol. So it's a group of students who we go to different middle schools and we talk about how to stay off drugs and just to put your best foot forward to give you the best chance at a success.
That is marvelous and successful, I must say. And how often do you volunteer with Meals on Wheels in your church?
Normally, for Meals on Wheels, I try to do that during the summer with my grandparents, and we do it a couple weeks out of the summer when I can with them. And at my church, I go Wednesdays, Sundays, and whenever I can, whenever we have an activity, because I really appreciate everything in my relationship with Jesus there.
That's great work indeed. Well, Emma, once again, you are our RB Scholar Athlete winner for this week. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And good luck in all your future endeavors as well.
Yes, sir.
Arby's, we have the meats. We'll be back in just a moment.
So it was 6-3 at the end of one, 12-3 at half.
Right. So I don't know if you want any of this stuff, but Spartanburg had 3 punts, a field goal, missed field goal, and a fumble. Three punts, a made field goal, missed field goal, and lost a fumble. Yeah, I got one. And then they had a touchdown. Let me see here.
Along with the Gaffney Huey Middle School students.
In that order?
The band will go good luck if they head to South Caldwell House tomorrow for the first competition of the season.
Okay. Okay, so one stat slab, then highlights.
We have a halftime score. Alden 12, Norman 0.
Really?
(12-3) at the half. Homestanding Gaffney leading the Spartanburg Vikings in a critical Region 2 5A showdown. Look at some of the numbers from that first halftime. The ball belonged to Spartanburg for 13 minutes, 15 seconds, to Gaffney for 10 minutes, 45 seconds in terms of possession. And the numbers come off a bit surprising on a number of fronts.
Well, when you look at Spartanburg from 70 yards rushing, a lot of that came in the very first possession of the ball game. Then 70 of those passing yards came of a touchdown.
Here's how we arrived at those numbers. Spartanburg first to touch the football. They go on a drive that ended in a 36-yard field goal, put Spartanburg up 3-0. Jeter's been under pressure all night long, but his defense has been solid as well. It really was the defense is the story early on.
Yeah, it was, and holding down the Gaffney offense for the most of the first half of that 70-yard drive. But then again, Jeter's forced to run the ball maybe a little bit more than he wanted to because of the pressure.
Here's a little more of that Spartanburg defense. You saw Jeter continuing to battle in there. You know they're going to be at some point a lot more of this. There's Danton able to make the catch, shows his toughness. Spartanburg's offense really it just hasn't seemed to get clicking yet. Although the one pick there for the defense, continuing to keep things tight, and Spartanburg leading early, hanging in there. Jeter giving his snapshots of what he can do from time to time. And Gaffney a little slow getting started themselves, but a touchdown in each quarter, Tom, to build the 12-3 advantage. Let's look at some of the highlights for Gaffney to this point.
Yeah, able to get that first touchdown, and it took a while after 2 were called back. There was a roughing the kicker penalty as well. It kept that alive, and boy, but there's a look at the defense to begin with, and man, I mean, right at the point of attack, very good.
Well, a number of different weapons for Gaffney, and none bigger really than Sugar Jeffries, responsible for the couple of touchdowns, one on the ground, one through the air. There's a look at some of the Gaffney highlights. We're getting ready for the start of the second half. It is time for the Carolina Furniture Concepts Coach's Corner, and Spartanburg head coach Mark Hodges standing by with Nelson.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Jason. This is the Coach's Corner, brought to you by Carolina Furniture Concepts. So, Coach, I know you're a busy man. I won't keep you long. What was the message to the boys in the locker room?
And just fight them. It's a really big ball game. I mean, we've missed a couple opportunities. They missed a couple opportunities. Then we blew a coverage right there. Otherwise, it's 6-3 going into halftime. So we just got to keep playing the game. You know, we got to figure out how to run the ball and slow their rush down a little bit. But other than that, it's been a really good football game.
All right, Coach. Good luck to you and your boys in the second half. Back to you, Tom. Back to you, Jason.
He has seen a lot of these from a number of locations over the years. Both these two coaches very seasoned. You know, some of the fans may be looking on and saying, well, this wasn't quite what we expected from that first half. I guarantee you these two coaching staffs not hitting the panic button. There's a lot of football left and a region win on the line, Tom. You can, in many ways, expect to see a crisper team on both sides. Let's go ahead and visit your keys to tonight's game. Kind of take a look at what you expect to see from an adjustment standpoint for these two teams.
Well, you know, in conversations early, Spartanburg talking about some consistency in that offensive line, trying to get that running game going. Special teams, they needed to be good in that particular area. And then Gaffney with the young team, 8 sophomores starting 5 on defense, and then they wanted to limit those Viking possessions because of the potential big playability of Spartanburg.
Well, we know the big playability is there. Somewhat surprising when you look at the overall numbers. Gaffney with this lead in the rushing yard total, so right now minimal for the Indians. And then you look overall at what Spartanburg's been able to do in moving the football. This has a potential to be a tale of two halves when you think about what these teams have done in recent weeks, Tom, and then what we saw from them in the first half here tonight.
Gaffney's a team that's coming off an off week, but scored 35 at a win over Fort Dorchester, and that came when they were down 10 points in the fourth quarter of play, and one was a 4th down 10 play, that a touchdown pass. And then you've got a Spartanburg team that's playing well here recently. And both these teams had so tough non-conference schedules. I mean, playing powerhouses in Georgia from Spartanburg standpoint, and then playing the upper echelon teams in South Carolina. Sometimes it's difficult when you only play 4 region games to fill out your non-conference schedule, and a lot of people, when you have the great success both these teams do, they don't want to play it, so it becomes difficult, and you try to find some games and you get some powerhouses, and you find out a lot about your team, though, and both said that early on.
Makes this 4-game stretch in the region was so intense, and you could sense that on a night like this as well. Fans ready for the second half of action? We know you are. Happy to have you with us here on our National Game of the Week. Friday Night Rivals continuing as we're set for the start of the third period, and Spartanburg to kick it away after having the first touch of the football, which resulted in the field goal, the only points for the Vikings thus far to start the game. Gaffney will return this across the 20. A little bit of a seam, in fact a lot more, and plenty of room down the near sideline as the Indians have this brought back by Caliber Huey into Spartanburg territory as Gaffney looks to build upon his lead. Mentioned Caliber Huey, we've seen him on defense tonight, Tom. Here he makes a special teams contribution.
Yeah, coming back from a year ago, we've seen him on both sides of the football the last couple of years, and that's a great way to begin things. And I tell you, I thought coming out of here with Gaffney getting the football, that this possession, and you always talk about it, everybody does, the first possession of the third quarter and early in the third quarter, and what are you going to do and how will it affect the game. I think in this game, at a 12-3 game, it's been tough for Spartanburg to get some offense generated. This becomes a very key drive for them defensively.
Huey, who scored the first touchdown of the year in that season opening battle between these two teams in Spartanburg a year ago. As we said, mostly defensively, his impact in this game thus far brings it back to the 48. Major gain on first down for the Indians is 8 picked up by McDowell. He's the Gaffney version of the young back. You know, you got the experience, the seasoned back, and then the young back alongside these two Division I prospects at quarterback tonight. He is the complement to Quayshawn Tate, who we saw carry the football a number of times earlier. Talk about McDowell's vision and his good hands out of the backfield, a number of different ways they can use this youngster. 66 for 256 and a couple of touchdowns. His numbers on the year coming into tonight. He has a couple of carries. Maybe it was a point of emphasis for Gaffney on the ground, Tom, with so few of the yards coming of the rushing variety. They go back to that package on which the touchdown was scored on the ground. The 3-yard carry on the doorstep of the goal line by Edward Jeffries. This time he's met in a short yardage scenario, and 4th down is coming. Gaffney in that first half, 2 for 7 on 3rd down. Empty on the first such try here. They were 1 for 1 on 4th in the first half, and here comes another on 4th and short.
Hey, good job defensively to bottle that up with Jeffries. He's so tough in that Wildcat look.
It'll remain the Wildcat package for Jeffries. Bounces off the first point of contact and outside for plenty of running room. And he's finally pushed out of bounds inside the red zone. So that is a First Franklin Financial first down and much more, as he continues to, at least at this point, be the story of the night. If you missed it when we talked about it earlier, he had his hand stepped on in the South Point game to start the year for Gaffney. Required surgery. First action he's seen since the season opener. Coming here tonight, he has both of Gaffney's touchdown, and he just kept the drive alive with that run.
Had nothing inside. He was able to bounce it outside and got a good gain.
One on the ground and one through the air. And now Loftus back to the quarterback position, and he'll hand it back to Jaden McDowell. And McDowell pursued to the far side. As Spartanburg covers this with Jaden Coleman doing a nice job to chase him over there.
Yeah, a lot of McDowell here in the second half. As you mentioned, we saw Tate for the most part first down, and Coach Dan Jones told us this week the young man's only a freshman. He thinks he has potential to be a very special player here for the Indians.
Loftus on second down and 10 now. Loftus, who transferred into Gaffney last year from Blue Ridge, going up classification to play Power 5A football here in South Carolina. Ended up leading this team to the state title a year ago. Trying to lead them to some productive outcomes on the opening drive of the second half. And he will see his receiver, Jamarcus Smith, spun around. And as Jamarcus Smith catches this and is near the marker, third down and 1 coming for Gaffney.
Yeah, quick throw over the middle. Have a choice there to make the tackle, but didn't have a lot of pressure. Got it out in a hurry. A little crossing pattern there. Good game.
So another third and short. Gaffney empty on the third down, but converting on the fourth down behind Jeffries. Now deeper into Spartanburg territory. And the Vikings able to read this third down call well, as nothing's there for McDowell. And another fourth down facing Gaffney from the 10. And the Indians this time looking as if they're going to run that package back on here, Tom, as Jeffries trots out there on fourth down and 2.
Hey, the defense for Spartanburg on third down and short has been really good, and we saw it a moment ago on fourth down and 1 with the ability of Jeffries to bounce outside for a big gain. Let's see what happens here.
Fourth down and a long 2. Jeffries back in that Wildcat package, and Spartanburg chases him on down the line and comes away with the stop. Wow. The Vikings, knowing it was going to be number 1, Sugar Jeffries ready for it on this occasion, and the second go round on fourth down turned away. Huge stop for the visitors.
That's outstanding.
Deep in their own territory.
Defense had fourth and short, able to convert, had fourth and short there, and you get one more look at it. You know, the penetration comes up, then eventually Madison's there, and also Nelson, the linebacker, helps out and got some backside help from Corey Cheeks as well. Boy,
how
nicely
many
done.
Big plays has Jacob Madison already been involved in defensively tonight for Spartanburg? There's another. And the Vikings take over, and they're deep in their own territory, but turning away Gaffney's offense on the opening Indians drive of the second half. And this stacked up just as truly by that Gaffney front line defensively. This similar to what we saw right out of the gate in this game. The defense is toughening, stiffening when it counts. Nothing there for Carter this time.
Tell you what, the defense has really been outstanding here tonight. It's a high-powered Spartanburg offense that's averaging 32.7 and coming off 3 really outstanding offensive performance. Been shut down a bit tonight.
Jeter to Sanger far side. And he's going to get back near the original line of scrimmage on the drive before being met by Caliber Huey. Actually, his progress is going to give him much more than that, as Spartanburg now in a far more manageable third down. It's that last cut in the effort. Look at that, Tom.
Yeah, I like the call, get it out in a hurry, because when Jeter drops back, he hadn't had a whole lot of time to read the progression. Just get it out, see what you can get, give yourself a chance on third down.
Needing to get across the 21-yard line. Spartanburg on third down and 6. Jeter going much deeper. Nice job returning to the football by Moore, and he has a Spartanburg first down. Quay Moore right there where he needed to be, and the adjustment at the end of this secures a First Franklin Financial first down for the Vikings.
Yeah, good to see him back. Got banged up a little bit early in the first half and comes back underneath and adjusts to the ball, makes the catch. Big one.
Quaymore had just one catch for 15 yards in that first half. He more than eclipses that on this, his first prime moment of the second half. Jeter looking deeper again, over the middle and in and out of the hands of Moore a second time, as it's off the fingertips for 2nd down and 10.
Yeah, threw a little bit behind him. You see Huey there. Boy, he wants to deliver a blow when he can. I think good job that time. Jeter had time to throw the football, look down the field, just a bit behind him. And if he puts it out in front, there's going to be a big-time collision there.
Yeah, Caliber Huey was ready to unload on Quaymore. Moore averages over 70 yards receiving per contest for Spartanburg. This goes out to Singer far side, and he keeps digging. Still up. Nice block at the 30. Able to avoid another Gaffney defender at the 15 and all the way down inside the 10-yard line. Well, that was a developing play for Spartanburg.
That's a good way to say it.
Did not have the start maybe that the end gave the Vikings. What an explosion out of the initial contact by Rael Segar.
Well, you fake it up inside and the back's just smashed, and then you got all kind of pressure there on Jeter. He shows his experience and his strength there. Get it out in the flat. Boy, look what we saw Rael and Senghor able to do and get it into scoring position.
Senghor, another of those that had just one reception in the first half for Spartanburg. So we said it. You knew it was a matter of time before these playmakers became involved for the Vikings. And here they have reach the spotlight in this third quarter, and Jeter going to give this off to Carter, who is good for a yard or so. Vikings set up at the 5-yard line at the 5:45 mark, third quarter, looking for the first touchdown of the night. This is a Spartanburg team with 14 of them on the ground, 14 of them through the air this year. Raheem Jeter, after his defense provided the spark by turning away Gaffney deep in Spartanburg territory, has driven them the length of the field. The All-State quarterback from a season ago, D1 prospect. Gonna wait for the opening to develop down to the 2-yard line. And here comes a third down for Spartanburg, as they're knocking on the door.
Tell you, 236, good call there. He was patient, too. Didn't jam it up inside. He waited a moment. There was a little bit of a crease there and able to stretch that big frame forward to get it close to the goal line.
Jeter going to take the snap back around the 6-yard line, give himself room to work. And he's got plenty of it. Raheem Jeter with his 17th touchdown of the year, in which he's been involved in one way or another, has Spartanburg's first of the night, and number one in the program, number one in the hearts, as they often say, in Spartanburg County, at least at Spartanburg High School. Carries this home, and it's a bit of an exhale perhaps for a Spartanburg offense that showed what it's capable of on this first drive of the second half.
We'll just flip it on back to what the defense was able to do to set it all up to begin with, and what a drive.
Extra point from Will Love, who had the only scoring prior on his 36-yard field goal in the first quarter, is true. And this one just a 2-point contest. Carolina Furniture Concepts, over $5 million of furniture in stock, ready to deliver to you. Visit their Arden and Waynesville showrooms in North Carolina or go online at carolinafurnitureconcepts.com. That's Carolina Furniture Concepts, proud sponsors of Friday Night Rivals. After the extra point, a little extracurricular activity involved, and this resulted in offsetting penalties. One flag here, another flag came a bit later. In the end, they were offsetting unsportsmanlike penalties that sometimes come with a rivalry game like this.
Motion running high. What a ball game now. 12-10. How about that drive? 89 yards and 323. Jeter gets it in. And it came 1 yard run after the big play to Singor to get that ball into scoring territory.
You know, we said neither of these coaching staff's going to hit the panic button, and you heard Mark Hodge on the Spartanburg side of things when he came out of the locker room. He said, this is a great football game. You're talking about one long pass here being the difference in it not being very, very tight. His team drives down, scores. It's just that. Very tight again at 12-10 with just under 5 minutes remaining in the third quarter of action. Has to be pleased with the way his team responded out of the locker room.
Yeah,
Tom.
for sure. I mean, you go in, you probably wanted to get to the locker room. Everybody can discuss, settle down a little bit, and got the great stop, and then offensively got their best drive of the night.
And don't just pass that one by. The defensive stop for Spartanburg deep in their own territory. The catalyst for what was the length of the field, the drive that Raheem Jeter capped with his touchdown run. The return for Gaffney up across the 25-yard line. And the Indians will take over there when we return with more Friday Night Rivals from Gaffney.
Yes.
Both ways. So the Indians taking over, and both teams huddled up as Gaffney's lead now shrunk to just a couple of points, Tom. And we said it going to the break, but worth restating. This is a Gaffney team that seemed to begin to get its offense working in that second quarter. And now Spartanburg, what we saw from them, and certainly from him, talking, of course, about Jeter, looks a lot more like what you expected coming into tonight.
Able to get some yardage on the ground, threw it out in the flat, got a little bit there to halfback, and then able to get it down the sideline. And Jeter made an outstanding play to set one of the opportunities up to get that big gain, and then able to power in the big guy at 236 to get the touchdown after the defense made the stop.
Loftus with a short fake, and then after pumping, he goes deep, has a man, but it's off the fingertips in the end of the Gaffney receiver, Drew Medley. He was just able to get the break from his defender, but couldn't quite reel it in.
Yeah, a lot of players in the area, about 4 of them anyway, and some contact, let it go, and then he get one more look at it here. Had time, launches this ball long into the nighttime, and just dropped it. Had coverage down that way, and if he catches it, that's a touchdown.
Grayson Loftus sold the fake well and had Medley right where he wanted him. Second down coming, and contact first. It's going to be against the Vikings. It'll cut half the distance off as it'll become second down and 5 following the penalty. Busy officiating crew tonight. We introduced you to them in that first half. I know they hope, as everyone involved, that both teams, when we talk about settling into a rhythm, you know, the penalties were one of the key stories of that first half. 13 of them combined, and they came at inopportune moments for both squads. This one followed up with a second down gain that is minimal by Quayshawn Tate. So third down coming for Gaffney. Can the Spartanburg defense come up with successive stops here?
That would be big. Duncan Dawkins again, boy, he's having an outstanding game tonight at 5'8", 243, the senior defensive end off that left side. Got the big stop there.
Came in with 2.5 sacks, which was tops on the team. Plenty of pressure on Loftus again. He steps up out of it, and this time will make a true connection with Drew Medley. Medley, a sliding grab. Now they're going to say incomplete on the far side. Thought the initial movement of the official, he was going to mark that there, but he's saying, and he had the best look at it, that Drew Medley was unable to catch the football. So fourth down, and the Indian punting unit back out on there. So Gaffney to kick it away to Spartanburg one more time, and the dangerous, as he has proven already on one occasion in which he returned a punt for a touchdown this year, Andrew Denton is back for Spartanburg. And they're bringing everybody. And Spartanburg gets the kick, will pick it up and return it for a special teams touchdown. The Vikings with Christian Roberts, the junior, carrying it home after the special teams unit provided the block.
Wow, how about that? We talked about special teams play. There's Coach Hodge welcoming him to the sideline over there with a low 5. And, man, huge special teams play. Both teams talked about how key it was going to be tonight.
Spartanburg offense awake on the most recent drive, and they bring the house on this Gaffney punt. And the Vikings special team unit to finish it off. Here's Christian Roberts for Spartanburg to take this in for 6 more. The extra point from Will Love is true, and for the first time since he kicked that 36-yard field goal in the first period, the Spartanburg Vikings are back out front. Gaffney Indians gathered up as they get ready to receive the latest of the kicks from Spartanburg. Will Love very busy all of a sudden, Tom, getting set to kick it off again. Successive touchdowns for Spartanburg, one on a long drive, length of the field from Raheem Jeter and company, and then the Spartanburg special teams unit getting involved. They send everybody on the punt, are able to block it, pick it up, carried home by Christian Roberts for a touchdown, and now the Indians suddenly required to respond, down 17-12 to the Vikings.
Yeah, quite the turnaround here in the third quarter play. I believe it was Jalik Hill and Taylor Jeter that were the two that put the pressure on to get the initial block before Roberts picked it up and took it the distance.
So here is Will Love to put a foot into it, and plenty to celebrate on the far side right now. Those who've made the short trip over from Spartanburg High School wearing those Viking colors behind their team, leading at 17-12, and Gaffney's returned to the 30, and that's where the Indians will take over. And it is time for tonight's check presentation. Let's check infield side.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Jason. I'm standing here with the proud principal of Gaffney High School, Dr. Eric Blanton. Dr. Blanton, first thing is first, on behalf of My40 and Friday Night Rivals, thank you all so much for allowing us to be here today. We thank you, the faculty, the students, the teachers, and of course, the athletes on the field. Thank you all so much, and we now present you this check for $500.
Thank you so much, and thank you for being here.
All right. Back to you, Tom. Back to you, Jason. Thanks.
Provide these games and get to know so many amazing people on all of these campuses, and Pleasure to be here. Starting to look like the rivalry game you would have expected from these two tonight. A little back and forth. We had even at times a little chippy a little bit earlier, right, Tom? And now Spartanburg pushing ahead after Gaffney had snatched the lead away in that first half. The third quarter belonging at least right now to the Vikings, and Grayson Loftus and company required to answer. Gaffney looking for some dividends on the ground. They're going to give it to Jaden McDowell, and McDowell will move the chains with the first Franklin Financial first down. So how about this? The thing Spartanburg was not able to do offensively in the first half, getting going through the air and beyond. Jeter leads the long drive, big defensive stops. And for Gaffney, trying to do some good work on the ground after that was somewhat tough sledding for the Indians, so much of what they did through the air in that first half. So these two teams looking a bit more balanced, in this game looking just that as well.
Trying to establish the run a little bit. We know Loftus can throw the ball, the 70-yard touchdown pass, and had one a moment ago that was dropped.
Tosses this to McDowell, and he's taken out of bounds at around the 40, right back near the line of scrimmage. So second down and 10 coming. With 2:36 remaining in the third quarter, a very different football game with a region win on the line. Here's another look at that play.
Toss sweep and trying to get outside, and boy, good hustling effort for the big guy there to bring him down. And again, that's Dawkins.
Yeah, you continue to sing the praises of the senior Duncan Dawkins tonight. Came in with 24 tackles and 7 of them for a loss, and those numbers keep on climbing on a night like this. Loftus going to keep it, staying home and providing the first contact. Jacob Madison once more for Spartanburg.
Madison, the all-region linebacker from a year ago, but you know, that's a pretty good call right there. I mean, in terms of Loftus doesn't run it all that much, but you play the run. You've been able to establish a little bit inside with the young running back McDowell. Step outside, get a pretty good gain.
Gaffney team 2 for 9 on third down tonight. 2 for 3 on fourth, by the way, if you're wondering about it. They've rolled the dice on more than one occasion, facing third down and 6 here. And they'll go to Sugar Jeffries. And we'll see this good for a yard or 2, but he's out of bounds well short. Fourth down coming for Gaffney.
Take a good job there. We saw them run that play a couple times first half. Little down and out, and got about 5 or 6 on both those occasions, but pressed it. Did a nice job there because you want to contain and corral if you can.
Jeffries kicking unit back out there. Remember, Spartanburg blocked the most recent. They'll set up to return this one, will the Vikings. And it'll take a Gaffney bounce and be blown dead just inside the 10-yard line at the 8. And that's where Spartanburg will take over. 1:40 remaining in the third quarter. 17-12 Vikings. The last time this offense set up shop deep in their own territory like this, it was the start of a drive the length of the field, which really changed the complexion of the game.
Yeah, it really did. And I think this one needed to flip the field. You're going to go ahead and punt it. And, you know, you're still third quarter, late third quarter. Good ball game going on right here, 17-12. See if your defense can get a stop here and get it back in good field position.
Raheem Jeter back out after a first half in which he was 5 of 13 for 43 and sacked on 3 occasions. His long was just 18 before that last drive you witnessed. Going to hand this off, and Gaffney's defensive front was waiting on Carter, who's had little room to run tonight. Gaffney seeming to really key on the combo of Drake Carter. Of course, we talked about how outstanding they've nicknamed him Kiki Kelly, the young back for Spartanburg is as well, who wears jersey number 20. We've seen him in the backfield from time to time, but that duo, at least for the most part tonight, finding very little running room thus far and spun around. Here's Carter on this occasion. Huey comes up, and Cook there as well to set up third down and 9.
You know, the play before that, Jeriel Jeffries, the 5'9", 140-pound junior defensive end, he's a guy that Coach Jones talked with us about can be a difference maker as well, and he was on that play.
Spartanburg looking for the 19-yard line. Vikings need to get just beyond that for a first. Gaffney hoping, as you said. that from their perspective, the field had been flipped, and Jeter is hit, sails this into the Gaffney sideline, and a penalty for delay in there just prior to this, and that won't take any of the pain off of this lick that Jeffries withstood.
Man, as they say, unabated to the quarterback there, and he stood in there and took it as that blow was delivered by Andrew Roop.
Andrew Roop giving Jeter a pretty good lick there. And we've seen the toughness of Raheem Jeter on display throughout the night. After contact, whether it be Jeter, whether it be Denton, has been impressive for Spartanburg. But they're behind the sticks here, the Vikings, 3rd down and again needing the 19. Jeter standing in his own end zone will send this behind his intended target more. And incomplete, 4th down. Spartanburg now going to have to kick it away from deep in their own territory.
Yeah, Jaden Sims actually had an opportunity there, got a little bit misread there, and going up the seam a bit, went to the outside, but just goes as an incomplete pass.
Yeah, if that's on the inside of Quay Moore, it may be a completely different story. Standing right at the back of his own end zone is Love, who handles both the kicking duties, as you've seen tonight, and the punting duties for Spartanburg, and he will get it out of there. Fielded by Huey at the 40. His return will be for about 3 yards, and that is all. So Gaffney will have solid field position up near midfield when the 4th quarter begins. 3 in the books and a single score separating the Spartanburg Vikings and the Gaffney Indians. Spartanburg uses the 3rd quarter to push out in front heading to the 4th. Well, it's Friday in the upstate of South Carolina, and it's Friday at Wendy's. You can try the natural cut skin-on fries, perfectly sprinkled with sea salt, and better than ever at participating U.S. Wendy's, where it is Friday. The bright lights of Friday night on Friday Night Rivals. Everything you would expect them to be as we head into the 4th quarter, with Spartanburg leading Gaffney 17-12. We talked about a long and winding road to this point. 107 meetings, 100+ years of it, more than a century for these two teams to get here. Latest chapter being written as we speak. And a toss to Gaffney's Quayshawn Tate, who is going to work his way deeper inside of Spartanburg territory with a move of the chains and a First Franklin Financial 1st down. Spartanburg with all of the points in the 3rd quarter after Gaffney led 12-3 at the intermission. This is the Indians' attempt to respond here, Tom, as they trail for the first time since very early in the game.
They did what they needed to do. They got the stop defensively after the punt down to the 8-yard line. Great field position.
And another give to Quayshawn Tate. Tate down around the 20-yard line. Fourth quarter action in a region contest. Gaffney the last several years swinging back and forth between the two regions. Regions 2 and 5A, Region 3, and now back in the same region with all their rivals, Spartanburg, Dorman, Burns, Bowling Springs, and the like. Making the high stakes of these games even higher than the rivalry stakes that are usually there, because a home playoff game in many ways on a night like this could very well be on the line. And, you know, Tom, you don't know what's going to happen across the next 3 or 4 weeks. A region title could be on the line here tonight.
5-team region, that's it. You get 4 region games, and already Spartanburg having beaten Burns 36-23. If they would get this one, it'd be huge. For Gaffney, they begin a string of 4 consecutive.
Vikings would get an off week next week. Then they take on Bowling Springs ahead of the showdown with Dorman, which we'll also have on the air for you here on the Friday Night Rivals, the Bojangles Friday Night Rivals package in the Carolinas. It'll be another consequential region matchup. And they go back to that package with Sugar Jeffries, and this time Spartanburg waiting for it again. Remember, Spartanburg turned away that Gaffney drive on 4th down similarly a moment ago. They do so again here, and it's the captain, Jeriel Jeffries. Or check that, Spartanburg able to get Surratt in there to make the stop.
Yeah, came off the edge there. A young man get a chance to play and a chance to make an outstanding play, which he did. It's tough to stop Jeffries.
Surratt, the defensive lineman, his 11th grade season, 5'10", 255. Get the credit where it's due here. Going to come near side, try to complete this. It is incomplete. And the Spartanburg Vikings have once again turned away a Gaffney drive deep in their own territory. And emerging tonight, the ability of this Spartanburg defense, Tom, to bend but not break, and it protects a 17-12 lead.
Yeah,
wow.
You're exactly right. I mean, in a couple times with Jeffries carrying that ball, he's been able to get good yardage, but boy, the penetration has been so good, and the inability to pick up that first down and then provides the opportunity to get it back after outstanding field position.
Here's Raheem Jeter and company back out on the field, and timeout being called for. Looks like it's an official timeout, as they are sending, looks like one of the Gaffney defenders to the sideline. Let's get one more look at that 4th down try for Gaffney, and just out of the reach of his intended target for the quarterback Loftus. And here's Jeter on 1st down. Keep it up to the 21, 1st down gain. That'll make it 2nd down and about 9. You talk about the region, Tom. Playoff format, top 2 teams in the region get a home game. 4 out of the 5 are in. With the way things are shaking out so far, Bowling Springs could be odd man out. You never know, because you got 4 perennial title contenders in Spartanburg, Gaffney, Dorman, and Burns, all stacked into the same region. That, what did these coaches call it? Like one side of the SEC in many ways here in South Carolina.
All top 10 in 5A. Shows you how powerful this particular 5A region is.
So you're playing for a home game and a chance to stay alive in the region crown hunt on a night like this. That's what's on the line 4th quarter in this 1-possession game. Jeter on 2nd down. And underneath his target, though, flags will come in, as they were all tangled up on the far side as he was trying to connect with Quay Moore. So Spartanburg will see this walked off, as pass interference against Gaffney will be called here. You see just how tangled up they were, Tom.
Yeah, you get a look at it here, and tell you, one of the keys there, though, was the block that was made by Darrell Brannon, the left tackle, to provide that opportunity for Jeter to even throw the ball. He's been under some duress tonight.
1st down and 10 for Spartanburg. Jeter, who again at the half, 5 of 13 through the air. Really seeing those numbers climb now as he connects again with Moore. Moore has a First Franklin Financial 1st down and is into Gaffney territory at the 37-yard line. Raheem Jeter and Quay Moore beginning to get very comfortable with one another here in the 2nd half.
Well, getting a little bit of time to throw, and again, you're going to see Brannon do a good job, the left tackle, protecting that backside there to allow that opportunity for that to occur.
ticking down to 8:30 remaining, and Spartanburg in search of what would be its largest lead of the night. Vikings led 3-0 in the first and stormed back in the third period to take a 17-12 lead that the Crew, with the football in hand, now possess. And Jeter will have this knocked away, and it's being ruled incomplete. Jeter was trying to clearly throw it. The question was, did he get the hand moving forward in time? And our official right on top of it rules it an incomplete pass right away. Yeah, so instead of being a major loss and perhaps more, it's simply an incomplete pass.
Yeah, looks left, didn't have much of an opportunity there. Tremendous pressure in by Roop, the young man that's had a couple of fine plays.
It was Andrew Roop, another of those who, son of coaching staff told us, Alex Roop, who Dan Jones was able to coach. He talked about these two sophomore linebackers and how he coached their dads and how much talent and ability they have. Pressure provided by Roop here. Timeout being taken. Second down coming. Spartanburg trying to put together a drive again to extend their lead early fourth.
I couldn't hear you. Repeat that. Okay, cool. Okay.
Time to check in with Nelson, field side. Nelson?
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Jason. I'm standing here on the sideline with the proud principal of Spartanburg High, the Vikings, Dr. Vance Jones. Dr. Jones, good to have you on the show, sir.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So what are your thoughts on the game so far, Doc?
It's been a great fight for us. Started off kind of slow in the first half, but we're really rolling right here in the second half.
All right. Now, Doc, from what I understand, over at Spartanburg High, y'all have a program called the Refine Program. What is that all about? Talk to us.
Coach Hodge has come in and got the Refine Program rolling. Our guys do a lot of volunteering out in the community, as well as doing some internships throughout the school year, working with different businesses in Spartanburg County.
That is magnificent work indeed. Now, Doc, as you're well aware, obviously, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And from what I understand, y'all got a great program called Pink Week Hank, coming on later on this month. What is that all about?
Yes, sir. I met with our student counselor earlier this week. Our student counselor does a great program as far as Pink Week and getting some stuff situated for our student body to be able to raise money for breast cancer. We have a week full of activities planned leading up into our dorming game for our students for Pink Week.
And what week is that, by the way?
That's October the 28th, leading up to dormant game.
All right. Well, Dr. Jones, it's always
yes,
a pleasure, sir.
Thank you for having us.
Good luck to your team.
Yes, sir. Go Vikings.
Back to you, Tom. Back to you, Jason.
And you can see that point of emphasis here as well tonight. A number of the pink visible on both sides as well. Certainly a worthwhile cause. And talk a little bit about that Spartanburg Refined program. Very impressive what they do to make sure these young men are developed beyond just their athletic ability. Tom, this is a fourth down coming for Spartanburg right here because Gaffney stacks this up on third down.
It's two plays. They've done a nice job. Not much up inside, and then there wasn't anybody to throw a ball downfield. Outstanding defensive pressure in the secondary, and it collapsed. Big play right here.
Gaffney defense needing a stop. Raheem Jeter and company needing 5 yards to move the chains on fourth down. Spartanburg sends Danton in motion initially. Jeter still looking over to that sideline for one of the more important play calls of the night. Jeter looks to pass, and it is incomplete. Gaffney returning the favor. Spartanburg twice turning the Indians away defensively in their own territory. And now the same as Gaffney's able to get off the field with this incompletion.
And a roll left gave him a chance to make that decision there. And sandwiched around the leaping Danton there. Good job defensively to get off the field, get your offense back on, get late in this game. It's a 17-12 game.
Go to Andrew Danton, the sure-handed receiver, but just too tall for him to bring down. First down, Indians from the 31-yard line. Gaffney trailing Spartanburg by 5. And looking over the middle, and this is intercepted. Going to be brought back inside the Gaffney 30 as Spartanburg has the pick from Carpenter. Daquan Carpenter and company celebrating the biggest takeaway of the night.
I tell you, read that beautifully. Plenty of time to throw the football. And, you know, last week Spartanburg turned over Burns 5 times in that 36-23 win. They come up with a big defensive play here.
The senior came into tonight with 40 tackles and 2 passes broken up. He did more than break this one up, as Daquan Carpenter has the Spartanburg takeaway, and the Vikings right back at it with 6 and change remaining, still nursing that 5-point lead.
Boy, the defense has been outstanding here in the second half for Spartanburg.
On both sides. Now the Gaffney defense going to be called upon one more time, and Rayshawn Littlejohn among others in there to help make the stop. Caliber Huey is the keeper by Jeter.
Well, you want
snuffed out.
You want the touchdown if you can, but if you can get the field goal, it makes it an 8-point game, which means you'd have to score and get the 2-point conversion if you're Gaffney. But you're thinking TD here and running time off the clock, maybe more importantly.
Just happen to be finding us these rivals meeting for 107th time. Just one win separating them. And 8 points all time in scoring, plus Spartanburg. Trying to add to that as the Vikings will keep it in the hands of their backfield. And on this occasion, Carter, who has tried time and again, he's kept pounding at the stone all night long, and this time the toss to Drake Carter pays off.
Yeah, you got a couple of big guys out there, including Jamison Guy, the 371-pound left guard, who helps provide an opportunity there, and he cuts it back inside. A big gain at a big time.
Drake Carter coming to life down the stretch. A Gaffney player down. We'll check on his status on the other side when you return. Back in Gaffney, South Carolina, and Carmelo Grant down on the field being tended to by the Gaffney training staff. We'll break away one more time, come back with a status report on the injured Gaffney Indian. Now there you see the assistance being provided. Carmelo Grant, the sophomore D lineman for Gaffney, as the training staff was there to see to him. And certainly hope there will be no lingering effects, as we've said on both sides tonight, with a very physical contest and players working through the thick of physical region play. First down, Spartanburg inside Gaffney territory at the 10. Jeter going to be wrestled down by Nathan Johnson. Tommy's headed to Appalachian State. They talk about what a talented player he is. And he's been getting noticed by so many all over the country. What did Coach Jones tell us? App State keeps calling just to make sure he remains committed, just to make sure he remains solid. That's the kind of attention he continues to get with plays just like that. And he steps up at a time when Gaffney's defense has to have a stop. Remember, if they could somehow hold the Vikings to a field goal, still stays within the extent of one possession at 8. Vikings would like a touchdown to make it real tough on Gaffney across the final 4:15. This, right in the heart of traffic, will be minimal in its impact. But precious seconds roll on down off that game clock as we move toward 3rd down and 7.
But tough going up inside. You had Jeter, who got a yard or two in that time. And one thing you did see about Carter there is he's going to both hands on the ball, because they're going to go after it there. And if you're thinking field goal, Will Love's got one, missed one.
Carter had his most impactful run of the night to put the Vikings in this position a few moments ago. Jeter had the touchdown run that really jump-started Spartanburg's offense after the first of the defensive stops. He's going to keep it himself again here. Will be stacked up at the 6-yard line. And now the decision time coming. Now flags come in at the end of this. Talk about consequential.
Yeah, and it's going to be against Spartanburg. There was I think a slap to the helmet,
which, if that's the case, takes your field goal scenario and makes it a little tougher on Will Love, the talented kicker, if that's the direction the Vikings decide to go. But it is decision time. And there you see the communication between the Spartanburg coaching staff with Cunningham there. 3:27 left to play, and everything these defenses, I think we have to say on both sides, have been asked to do at critical moments, they have done tonight.
They have. I mean, after Spartanburg got a couple touchdowns there and settled back in Gaffney, and boy, it's been hard to get yardage. And this is a big penalty right there. I mean, I think pretty much just had run the ball into the middle of the field trying to get the best placement for the attempted field goal attempt on 4th down, but that's going to place it back at 15 more yards and make it a much longer field goal attempt.
Yeah, you're looking at less than 30, and now by the time you snap the football, you're looking at something more in the 40-yard range. Now, the talent level is there for the young kicker, but you're talking about a freshman in Will Love. You said it, he made the field goal that put Spartanburg on the board earlier tonight. And he's trying to make the field goal to give them the maximum of the lead. One more look at what happened at the end of this that backed the Vikings up. A little back and forth in this heated rivalry contest and region contest. So much on the line. This would make it 8 for Spartanburg with right around 3 minutes to play. A 38-yard try. And it is winding left, no good. Well, the Indians will take over in a scenario in which a Gaffney touchdown would reclaim the lead now, as a second miss tonight for Love. Well, we talked so much about the history between these two teams and what it means to play in these rivalry games. 24 state championships between these two squads, Tom. And Gaffney going to look for a little of that state championship magic. The reigning champs going to take over here, needing a late push in their return to Region 2. And you know what the expectations are here in both of these communities.
Yeah, I might write a new script here late in this ball game.
Indians go to work. First pass tossed far side up to the 22-yard line. And this is going to be caught over there. for maybe a yard or two. You saw flash up there all the titles that have been won here. Some may say 17. They're pretty settled on 18.
It all depends.
Used to be an old AP deal type thing in South Carolina where they voted on them before a lot of the playoff games were head-to-head. Gaffney went undefeated one more time, and they claim 18. Both these teams certainly capable of adding a state championship this year. But this is a determinative fourth quarter to that end in many ways, and Loftus just going to get rid of this far side. And it's incomplete. Second.
A really good job in the secondary.
Secondary there. Talk about 2:26 to go, 17-12. Here's Gaffney. They're backed up. Both these teams so explosive, Tom. 2:26 is a whole lot of football left, regardless of what Gaffney even does here.
Huge play here. I mean, good job to give Loftus time to throw, but there was nobody available downfield. So here comes a huge play in this game.
On 3rd down and 9. Loftus looking deep. Open and caught by Medley. He'll make a cut and get inside the 20. A Gaffney red zone opportunity coming with 2:14 to play as Grayson Loftus finds Drew Medley.
Plenty of time to throw the football. Launched it long. He was wide open and able to make that catch. And now a great opportunity here late in the ball game to take the lead.
So Gaffney seeing the lead disappear in the 3rd quarter on a Jeter touchdown, followed by a punt blocked and picked up for another Spartanburg touchdown on the special teams side. Indians have not scored in the second half, but have the 2-minute offense in effect here. Give to McDowell, and he's down inside the 15 to the 13-yard line. Jaden McDowell inching it a little closer with 2nd down coming, and also takes precious seconds off that game clock, whatever the outcome here. One of those scenarios Gaffney has to be thinking score, but don't leave a great deal of time if you do, because you know how explosive Spartanburg can be. Inside the final 90 seconds of the football game, everything you could have wanted out of this region matchup and this century-plus rivalry. Loftus rolls this way, and he's just going to fire that out the back of the end zone and incomplete. And a helmet lost there. Looked like one of the Gaffney linemen that's going to have to come off for a play, as the Indians will end up running Trayshawn Tate on in place of Joseph Jordan, who lost his helmet in that sequence. 3rd down again. This time deep in Spartanburg territory. We talked field goals on the other end of the field. Does you no good right now if you're Gaffney with 1:13 to play and the Indians have run it down. Home team looking for the end zone. 3rd down and 5, and just before the snap, timeout called for by Gaffney. Who's going to add their name to the legends of this rivalry? We talked about, Tom, these are the stories in the Palmetto State you go to bed with, the stories that you're told. You go back and you look at some of the great legends and those who've made their mark in the NFL. I mean, you can't help but think about the likes of Fuller and obviously Super Bowl champion Stephen Davis. I mean, the list goes on and on, Tom. There's some of the players that made their mark at every level of this game for Spartanburg. And then on the Indians side of things, Sidney Rice recently hoisting a NFL trophy as well, along with a number of those that were secured in every step along the way between here and there. I mean, these are names, and they go back to even some of them, the 50s and 60s teams, all the way back to that 12-0 win in the opener back 101 years ago to the day in 1921. It has been marked with storybook ending after storybook ending. New names added to those lists, and we're set up for another one way or the other here.
Just as important today as it was 107 years ago.
3rd down, Gaffney. Indians looking for the 8-yard line for a first. Loftus looking for more than that. Jeffries cuts inside after making the catch, and he puts Gaffney out front with 1:07 left to play. Jeffries had the touchdown catch in the state championship game that ended Dutch Fork's run of 5 consecutive 5A titles and returned Gaffney to the top of the heap with their 18th championship all time. And he has the touchdown here at home in his return to the starting lineup after missing time with injury and surgery that puts Gaffney back out front by a single point at 18-17 against their rivals.
Boy, you go back to that penalty against Spartanburg, that relatively short field goal, put it back, missed that field goal, provide an opportunity, big passing play, set the thing up, and able to deliver.
Hold everything, though. There's still a minute and change left. We've seen one touchdown come tonight in, what, 11 seconds?
11 seconds.
So, you know, stranger things have happened, and Spartanburg going to get a crack at it. We'll see what Gaffney opts to do here. You know, again, the miss was there just a moment ago, but the connection was there for Will Love earlier. So the capability of kicking a field goal at some length there, and you know that has to be in the mind of this Gaffney coaching staff as they get ready to try to maximize what right now is an 18-17 lead. Attempt to get it to 3 here.
Yeah, it becomes a huge play here as well. Mark Hodge, head coach, taking a moment there to review some things. And
real-time technology these days, right? So here's the 2-point conversion that, again, would make it a field goal lead for Gaffney. And Loftus going to roll to the far side and then throw back toward the back of the end zone, reaching up and bringing it down to convert on the 2-point try. Is Calvin Ramsey as he celebrates with his teammates.
Slip tap, roll right, throw back against the grain, a floater into the back of the end zone, and seen that a couple times tonight. Some wide open opportunities.
He's listed as a junior defensive lineman at 6'1", 225, but boy, he showed some leap ability on that last play, able to go toward the back corner of the end zone, bring it down for a 20-17 lead for Gaffney. Here's the touchdown that put the Indians out front. Not only the catch, but then the secondary move by Sugar Jeffries. And then the 2-point conversion true as well.
Yeah, he throws that again wide open there, and that's a pretty good catch by a big guy in the back of the end zone.
Well, that's mindful of the state championship game, Tom. The late touchdown, the 2-point conversion took it to 22-19, the final in which Gaffney ended that Dutch Fork run and reclaimed the title. And now the reigning champs have put Spartanburg in a position where the Vikings must answer. You saw Mark Hodge looking some things over a moment ago. In this region, and certainly when you get to the playoffs, you're going to be in a lot of games like this. His crew no doubt prepared to take this final 1 minute, 7 seconds for a spin.
A good job by Gaffney to get back into this one. They'd struggled offensively in the second half, but boy, when they needed to drive, they'd be able to put it together. Let's see what transpires in the final minute.
Lead changes hands again as Jeffries has the latest of his touchdowns in his return. Coming up the near side, finding a little bit of room as he cuts back toward midfield, and here's more of it, as there's all kind of real estate available for Kamari Cunningham, who takes it back into Gaffney territory. And all of a sudden, that field goal range, or maybe even more, doesn't seem so distant.
Tell you, we've seen Cunningham on a couple of kickoff returns, and you always look back behind to make sure there's not a yellow marker there, and you'll get one more look at it here. Boy, when you needed that, watch this opportunity here. Boy, puts a foot in the ground and got up the sideline, and he does a number of really good things throughout the course of this return to give Spartanburg an opportunity here late.
Talk about picking your moments for Spartanburg. Vikings set up shop in Gaffney territory at the 38-yard line. After just seeing the lead snatched away, do they have an answer? Jeter covered up at the 40. And time continues to roll. One timeout left for Gaffney, and all importantly right now, 2 of them left for Spartanburg, 1 of them taken right now. So both teams will have a single timeout remaining with 42 seconds left. Spartanburg 40 yards away from the end zone, but Tom, less than that from giving Will Love a chance to try to send this to overtime if it comes to that.
Little play action there, and I'll tell you what, the young man nose tackle Sherman Tate, another one of those 5 sophomores that starts on defense, 6'2", 265. Didn't have any of that. Able to wrap up Jeter, and then the Roop and Cook, the other 2 sophomore linebackers inside of an outstanding 2.
Our national game of the week, living up to the hype in Region 2 5A in the Palmetto State, and 2 premier Palmetto State powers who, as we said, won over 20 state championships between them. And you think about from the 90s on how dominant these 2 programs have been in different phases, in different facets. And when you consider they played for over 100 years, and Tom, for fans who just found us, maybe weren't with us early, 107th meeting. Spartanburg has won 52. Gaffney's won 51, trying to make it 52, and they've tied 3 times. Doesn't get much more even than that.
And the points are about the same, aren't they?
Only 8 separating them coming into tonight. What does Mark Hodge have to dial up for his Vikings? Region title, certainly a playoff home game. All those things on the line with 42 seconds remaining. Jeter taking the snap. One of those trademark bubble screens set up for Spartanburg. And here is Denton, and he gets out of bounds. As drawn up with a First Franklin Financial first down. 34 seconds remaining. Vikings inch closer.
Yeah, nicely done. Get it out on the edge. Good blocks on the edge without holding there. Nicely done by Moore. And then gets down the sideline, and maybe more importantly, gets out of bounds.
The First Franklin Financial first down, putting Spartanburg at the 26-yard line. Vikings led 3-0 early. Then trailed Gaffney 12-3 at the half.
I think the question here is that I think the clock was moving a little bit.
Yeah, the clock is going to be discussed here. And while they sort this out, just to recap the journey for you, 3-0 Spartanburg early, 12-3 Gaffney at the break. Spartanburg owned the 3rd quarter to push out front, 17-12. And the Indians just scored and converted on the 2-point conversion on their most recent drive to push it to 20-17. Every second pressure right here, Tom, and timeout being called for to make sure all things were in order at the 34-second mark.
We've had a few swings of emotion, I think, say on both sides today for both fan bases. Huge crowd.
And it may not be over yet, those swings of emotion. First down, Spartanburg. After the connection to Andrew Denton, he worked his way out of bounds. And our officiating crew making sure everything reset at the 37-second mark. Boy, what a battle between these 2 old-time rivals. Gaffney sends pressure, able to sneak a toss out in front of it, and somehow struggling to get out of bounds and giving every bit of effort to do so is Carter. After a minimal gain, 23 seconds remaining as the clock stops once more.
Great pressure up front, got it out in a hurry. Clay Cook, we mentioned him, the inside of sophomore linebacker, made the play there after just a minimal gain.
What more could you want out of a region game on a gorgeous October night in the Palmetto State? Second down, Spartanburg. Jeter going to toss to the sideline, and that is in and out of the hands of Quay Moore, his intended target, with 18 seconds to play. 3rd down coming. Tom, you're looking from right here at a field goal just a bit longer than the one Will Love tried a moment ago that went just wide left. A few more yards would be so critical to that end if the Vikings are unable to do what you know they would like to do, which is go ahead and take the drama away by reeling up a few more yards beyond that and finding the end zone. $18 seconds, and this time that timeout is going to be called for by Spartanburg ahead of the 3rd down play.
Well, you want to make sure you're on the same page, but by utilizing that final timeout, there's a play in the, that's in play.
You got to get lined up quick.
Time could run out.
You would have to get lined up quick. The final timeout being called for here by Spartanburg.
So it'll be interesting to see how Gaffney wants to defend that, given what we just talked about. They're going to probably try to get some for the sideline, or you could throw one to the end zone. But it's got to be done in relatively quickly.
These teams met twice a year ago, including for the Upper State Championship game. His team came out on top, went on to win the state championship, snapping Dutch Fork's run of 5 consecutive. That Dutch Fork team, by the way, they're in the swing region this year in Columbia. That's going to send them into the upper state playoffs when all is said and done.
Wow.
So you lose a region game like this, you might find yourself going on the road to somewhere like Dutch Fork down the line in the playoffs. That's what an October night like this means, particularly the region championship they both are going after, and the bragging rights, well, they're all laid out there as well on this third down play with 18 ticks remaining. Jeter going to dance outside. He's got to get out of bounds, and he will with 12 seconds remaining. And the question now on 4th down, will they put it on the leg of Will Love in an effort to tie the football game? And here comes the freshman kicker from the left hash to try to push this a little closer to overtime. A 41-yard try for Will Love. Plenty of leg. And Spartanburg has tied it with 8 seconds remaining.
Wow. How is that for a freshman?
Made the first one.
Wow.
Missed a couple. Then tries one of the longer efforts of the night and connects with ice in his veins on the game-tying field goal with seconds to play. And regulation, although you never know with 8 seconds on the board, may not be enough to settle the latest edition of this rivalry battle. What a kick by the freshman.
I'll tell you what, you get set up to drill it. And first you got to have everything working. Danton's got to put it down, the snap's got to be good, and then he drilled it as you called it.
And timing has been an issue, so he takes that quick one step up to kick the football. And it worked beautifully. The younger brother of young man now kicking for the Virginia Tech Hokies in the ACC, who did such good work at Spartanburg. The torch has been passed, and there's a moment for Will Love as he has tied the football game with 8 seconds to play.
It's only fitting, Jason. This is, Gaffney goes down and they do what they needed to do late in the game, and boy, the great kickoff return by Carpenter to set things up. Defense for Gaffney to a certain extent did a good job to force a long field goal attempt, and then the freshman, get a freshman under these kind of conditions able to knock it through.
And it's going to be kicked out of bounds with 8 seconds to play. That obviously will prevent any chance for Gaffney to return. And after they walk off the penalty for the kick out of bounds, Indians have 8 seconds to take for a spin if they so choose. Otherwise, overtime coming here. What a second half. A first half that was somewhat discombobulated, you might say, between these two, as they tried to find, and perhaps some of it jitters, perhaps all that was on the line tonight. Certainly a week off one way, and a big region stretch on the other side. But after a first half that was a little wild to get to it, this second half has been so rewarding.
It has been one entertaining game, and the way it played out, and the nuances, and one team making really good plays and another one countering that as well. And sometimes you don't get these type of games in circumstances like this. I mean, there's two major rivals region play. and really can be a defining game as far as any possible postseason activity, even though it's just early on in region play.
How often does it live up to the hype? This one certainly has tonight. Of course, the last time we were here for a national broadcast on Friday Night Rivals, Gaffney and Dorman went down to the wire, missed field goal at the very end that gave the Gaffney Indians a win. And this one looking like it may need more than regulation, although again, 8 seconds left. As this one, the decision made to kick it again with 8 seconds to play. And Will Love, who this has to be a lot less pressure packed than the last kick he just made, right? Lofts this into the air. Going to be taken care of on the fair catch by Gaffney's Drew Medley. And no time as a result goes off the clock. So it's Gaffney football up near midfield, and it's always that discussion that takes place. We'll see what the coaching staff for Gaffney decides to do. Do they try something here, or are they content to play against this Spartanburg team in overtime? Both teams seem to be clicking on all cylinders right now.
Well, we're going to find out what's going to transpire here. And Coach Jones, and you documented his background, 13th year as a head coach, more than 100 wins, 30 total years here, and then he reminded us, didn't he?
He played here.
He played here.
Played here.
Let's go back to 79, or what did he say?
Understands this rivalry. Again, Mark Hodge on the other side, a Spartanburg County guy through and through. All his stops impressive, and he understands it. And Gaffney deciding they're going to take a knee and settle this rivalry battle in overtime. Well, exactly what you would expect out of the Vikings and the Indians. And we reset for overtime here. Tom, let's walk back through it. Spartanburg led 3-0 early. The field goal, the first of a couple of key ones tonight for Will Love, putting the Vikings up 3-zip. Gaffney answered with a couple of touchdowns. Neither of the extra points connected on, though. Looms large now as the Indians only posted the 12 points. They led by that score, 12-3 at the half. Then Spartanburg came out. Raheem Jeter drove his team the length of the field. Then the special teams play with the punt block scooped up for the special teams score for Spartanburg. Just like that, the Vikings snatched the lead away. Then Gaffney drove the length of the field in the fourth quarter to claim the advantage, and here is the gutsy kick by Will Love, the field goal to tie it with 8 seconds remaining, and that's how we arrived at overtime.
Yeah, you could see him, the pump that fist there. He knew it was good when he kicked it. I mean, 41-yard field goal. A lot of times in high school football, and you and I do a lot of games across western North Carolina and the upstate of South Carolina, is we always ask the coaches, what's your range, and that type of stuff. And in many cases, there isn't a whole lot of range, or they're going to go for it on fourth down. But that was an outstanding kick under a lot of pressure by a young man.
And there's another question on the back of that a lot of times. What's your range? What's your situation? You're talking about a game-tying scenario in which the young freshman makes that kick. So now you reset it just a bit. Raheem Jeter playing his best in that second half for Spartanburg. Grayson Loftus with the weapon. Sugar Jeffries, who's been really the story offensively for Gaffney in this one, playing their best down the stretch as well. So this is not one of those scenarios you get from time to time, Tom, where you have one team trending a little stronger than the other toward the end of the game. Both these teams, defensively, offensively, special teams, have done what they've been asked to do, and now the meeting of those two veteran quarterbacks at midfield, the two senior D1 prospects, as Jeter will call the toss to determine who has selection here. Gaffney, it seems, has won the toss, wants to play defense first, and the end of the field has been picked by the Vikings. And here we go. How about those two squaring off face to face?
Yep. Only appropriate, two outstanding young men, and on and off the field.
They're going to play it on the end of the field where the field goal was just made. And Gaffney, by virtue of winning the toss, getting a chance to go on defense first in order to see what Spartanburg does and then answer. You have to love the 10-yard fight that is overtime in the high school ranks, right? You talk about first downs and moving from the 25 and all that at different levels of the game, but it goes back to an old 10-yard fight with a region win on the line.
Well, and defensively, what Spartanburg was able to do, early in that third quarter, particularly to get some stops that they needed to provide a chance for them to get back in the game. There's so many things that went on in that second half for both teams in special teams play, extra, in the field goal, and then so forth. But just an overall outstanding effort by both teams.
Spartanburg taking this on the left hash at the 10-yard line. So high drama in the battle between the Vikings and the Indians. And wouldn't you like to be in the mind of both of these head coaches for just a moment as you try to pull the best options out of the playbook with just a handful of opportunities to turn tonight into a W. Raheem Jeter first, and the Vikings. Jeter pulls this out, and the Gaffney defense was waiting on him. A swarm of black jerseys. It's picked up by Gaffney and carried the other way. And the Indians celebrating as if they have won. Now the officials calling everyone back toward the 10-yard line. And you're watching their reaction to determine whether this is going to be the final chapter of what has been a wild night. Here's another look at the play as they stack up Jeter.
Okay, great pressure coming off. That's Johnson again. Keep looking. That ball's out.
Football is out.
Let's watch that knee, though.
And the knee is going to be ruled down for a loss of 9. They've placed the football on the 19-yard line. So what was 4 tries from the 10 now becomes second from the 19, as you see what a bang-bang play that was. Indians thinking they had all but sealed it. Instead, Jeter and the Vikings with the ball at the 19. Second and goal. Far side. This one struggled for and picked off as Gaffney will have the takeaway after all. The Indians with Jaden Sims coming up with the interception, requiring Gaffney to only score in some fashion in order to claim the football game and tie the series all time here at home.
Tell you, those two guys, Jaden Sims and Andrew Danton, been going at it tonight and battled for it. Made a nice read. Well, look at that read. Backpedaling there, saw it.
Spartanburg going Quay Moore's direction from Raheem Jeter, and there is the takeaway by Jaden Sims that makes all the difference for the Gaffney Indians at this point. The question is, can the Gaffney offense turn this turnover into a W? Gaffney claiming the lead in the fourth quarter after leading at the break and seeing Spartanburg on the third. Vikings with a game-tying field goal with 8 seconds remaining. And here's Grayson Loftus, who keeps it right hash and lunges forward to about the 6-yard line. And will remind you, any score for Gaffney ends the football game.
Yeah, just kept that, took it right to the middle of the field.
And they're the brain trust, that coaching staff of the Gaffney Indians, in the latest battle with the familiar foes on the far side. On second and goal from the 6. And the Indians give it to 6, only to see Quayshawn Tate stacked up. And third down is coming. Remember, if it comes down to the kicking game, Gaffney saw its 2 extra points in the first half tonight, missed, and then went for 2, you'll remember, in the other touchdown to work their way out front by 3. So a little more precarious, at least thus far, on that side of things. And on third and goal, Loftus, all kind of time, calling for the football, front corner of the end zone, where it is caught, and Gaffney has won it with Jamarcus Smith reeling it in for the W. Smith set up shop, front far corner of the end zone, and he was begging for Grayson Loftus, whose offensive line provided him all kind of time to toss the football his direction. It was a decision that turned it into a 26-20 victory for Gaffney. And this series, with 107 meetings in its history, is now completely even with the 3 ties and 52 wins apiece all time. And Gaffney has the region win on this night as the reigning South Carolina State champs pick up a W over their rivals from Spartanburg.
Man, what a game. You got 2 good looks at it there. Loftus rolls left, has time to throw the football, and look at that. He's able to tip-tap and just keep his feet in bounds there. Jamarcus Smith with a great catch and able to find where he was and get it into the end zone for a touchdown.
Well, the lead changed hands back and forth throughout the night, and in the end, this Region 2 5A battle, mindful of all the old Region 2 4A battles, and now writing new chapters here in the Palmetto State, lived up to every bit of the hype. We'll come back, try to put a bow on what has been a beautiful night and quite an impressive battle in South Carolina. Well, when they talk about Gaffney and Spartanburg, they often talk about the 2005 playoff game and how it came right down to a last fumbled snap. They'll talk about 1996 when an overtime game at Old Snyder Field, where Spartanburg used to play in Spartanburg County on the campus of Wofford College, saw the Vikings come out on top in a key upper state battle. This one has to be added as the latest chapter, an overtime thriller. Gaffney back in Region 2 this year, defending their state championship. They take on the region champs from a season ago. Spartanburg really coming along as a program, going to be a force to be reckoned with before the season is done. And regulation's not enough time to settle it, Tom Van Hoy. In the end, it comes down to this play. After Gaffney turned away Spartanburg's overtime possession, the Indians on 3rd and goal, deciding to try and win it right there. And they did so with a toss to the corner of the end zone, which put it in the win column.
I'll tell you what, Roland left and threw it up there, and tell you, a young man that's listed as the backup quarterback, also a receiver as well, Jamarcus Smith, able to rise, good vertical leap there, but boy, look at his ability to get inside the goal line there, the sideline, and that's a touchdown, and put it where he could catch it and only catch it for the touchdown. And choosing to throw it on 3rd down now. I mean, we talked about the 2 missed extra points, opportunity maybe to kick a field goal to win, but gave it a shot there and able to come through.
That's what I mean by saying Gaffney deciding to win it right there on 3rd down, opting to do so. You see both these coaches using this as a teachable moment, as it always is in these region battles. And Mark Hodge and his team, they'll still have their say already with a win over Burns. Plenty of work left to be done, including that Dorman game we'll have for you on our air to end the year. And you saw Dan Jones there talking to his team. He's now one closer to Bob Prevett, who the field here at Gaffney is named after. He's 3 away, becoming the all-time winningest coach in Gaffney history on the Gaffney side of things. So these 2 coaches with much more work to be done personally and with their teams. And when you talk about much more work to be done, Tom, Spartanburg having stepped out of state, what did Mark Hodge tell us? He said, the teams we've played, there's been a Division I prospect at almost every position this year at one time or another. And then what's left is the Bowling Springs battle after the off week next week, and then the showdown for Spartanburg County with Dorman again.
And we'll have that one for you as well. Langston Hughes, highly rated team in 6A, the #1 team in 6A in Georgia. And the other one you saw there was Grayson as well.
And then you remember they came from 3 touchdowns down to beat Dorman for the region championship a year ago, did Spartanburg. Talked about Dan Jones, one of 4 100-game winners here at Gaffney. Now keeps inching up the list as he chases Bob Prevette, already having worked his way around the likes of the A.L. Curtis's and Joe Montgomery's, and the homegrown Gaffney head coach who led them to a state championship a year ago. Again, has his work cut out for he and his team moving forward, because they're on a 4-week stretch. That's the thing about getting the bye before you start region play, Tom. It's going to be 4 consecutive with this Spartanburg game. Then, of course, they'll have Bowling Springs, Dorman, and then finish things up with Burns. That's what's left for Gaffney.
Yeah, there's our tough games to go for all of these teams, and we mentioned Bowling Springs kind of having a tough year, but the other 4, as we talked about it in this particular region, all top 10 in 5A max preps this week. So, I mean, every single game is going to be may end up a little bit like this one. Last week was 36-23, the win by Spartanburg over Burns, and forced 5 turnovers in that game. So I think you're going to probably see a lot of games like this down the stretch as far as all of these teams are concerned, and probably the toughest region 2, 5A, and the fact that I think all these teams, these 5 teams, are back in the same region. I think that's a good decision, and to have those kind of matchups, all of them big high schools, 1,800 plus. Dorman's got 3,000, one of the biggest high schools, and stadiums, and just tremendous atmosphere for high school football.
And there was a time where they cross-bracketed in this state and didn't divide it upstate and lower state. And so often these teams from the upper state in that radius you're talking about played head-to-head for the state championship. Looks like they're going to be factors again. Well, our Henson's Mulch and More dirty jersey of the game, and this is really going to be representative of all the defensive efforts on both sides tonight. But it's the defensive play for Gaffney in the overtime period. The interception which snuffed out Spartanburg's chance to score by Sims and set up Gaffney's touchdown to win it.
Yeah, you don't want that to get lost in the shuffle. And first off, it looked like there might have been a fumble recovery to go the other way, but called down. And then just an outstanding read there to get in front of Moore there to make that intercept, to give him the opportunity to win it, which they did.
So Gaffney, will recount it for you one more time, a 52nd win in this rivalry. Spartanburg has won 52 times. They've tied 3 times in this 107th meeting. Will go down in history as one of the best, and it will end with the Bojangles Trophy presentation, which is set to be handed out to the Gaffney Indians. They are gathered up, and you know, I think for the players and coaches, much like all the fans who turned out to watch this one, Tom, it takes a while for it to sink in what they witnessed.
I mean, just the emotions that I'm going to say coaches go through, but the fans as well. And these they're fine gentlemen as well, and you know, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat, as ABC would say.
Yeah, magical night on both sides, and 2 teams going to be heard from again before this season is over, that's for sure. Let's check in with Nelson, who, as you can see, is standing by with head coach Dan Jones and his victorious Gaffney Indians.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Jason. This is the Coach's Corner, brought to you by Carolina Furniture Concepts. So, Coach, first thing is first, congratulations to you and your team on a fun and exciting and all-around hard-fought victory. How you feeling right now?
Well, fantastic. You know, proud of these guys. Going to have a great weekend. High school football doesn't get any better than what we just had here Friday night.
You mentioned how proud you were of them. Now, Coach, when we talked earlier this afternoon, you told me you've been here for 30 solid years. Congratulations are in order in that regard in and of itself. It does raise the question, though, what inspires you, Coach, to want to get up every day and to come back year after year and coach such an exceptional group of young men?
Did you watch that game?
I did watch that game.
Hey, that's a lot of excitement for an old man, too. So, hey, you know, as long as we got kids playing and effort like that, it sure makes it a lot of fun for us guys, too.
Indeed. Now, Coach, I noticed a lot of your players, they have on some pink tonight. You guys had a great event going on today as well called Pink Out. Is that right?
It is, for cancer awareness, and that's what we're doing the month of October.
Such noble work. Well, Coach, congratulations once again to you. Congratulations, team! Back to you, Tom. Back to you, Jason.
Well, I'll echo the sentiments of Dan Jones. Why do we love this sport? Why do we keep coming back week after week? Why did they give their heart and soul to it? These players These coaches, why is it so hard to step away from? Did you watch that game?
Yes.
It was a classic.
It was, and our pleasure to bring it to you.
Well, thanks to our national viewing audience, to the Gaffney Indians and Spartanburg Vikings, and all those involved in both programs making this night possible. It's the latest classic between Gaffney and Spartanburg, and in the end, the reigning champs in overtime claim the W.